Let me actually see if that works. And it seems we are actually live everywhere. Is YouTube that delayed? We'll see. Welcome everyone. It has been a tough day today. There has been way more feedback to Heaper than I ever could imagine, and I'm currently still in the middle of fixing a few things that, of course, could have been fixed beforehand, but I only put my effort into these things now because I actually know that's the focus here. For example, first of all, welcome everyone in chat. And the main thing today might be licensing, because these things are updated now and they are much clearer and with all that concern, but we'll get to that once a few more people are maybe there, because that seems to be a big thing currently. Obviously, because the whole premise of this is like a private note-taking thing. Guten Abend. And I just need to make sure, currently we have chat here, which is just the Twitch chat. And I have the YouTube chat on as well, but those don't integrate with my bot things yet. We might do that at some later time. But for now, with a short overview of what we are going to do today. First of all, let me actually move this over. I have a few things from the presentation at the PKM Summit, if you're interested, because I have quite a few slides that didn't make it into the actual video, and it might be interesting to see how far this whole thing has progressed in like the last 10 months or so. There's been quite a bit that has been happening, and maybe these updates give you some idea of how fast we're going. Then, well, POG is not something we need now, but wait, does that... I think my bot isn't picking up the keyboard things. I might need to set up a shortcut for that, but that's not relevant now. I do have like a small utility thing that moves the window position in OBS, so I don't need to change like the spots on everything and you can actually see things. But for now, that's all right. From Australia, can't stay for long. Like, what's the time there? Isn't it like almost morning? Wait, I do have like a weather widget thing for that. But it's 7 a.m. Interesting. Can't stay for long, so watch this later. Just in a bedroom programmer, but Heaper sounds amazing. Very nice. Thank you so much. I'm actually really interested in showing you a bit more about how the entire project works, and we'll go a bit more on demos. I do have a small sample, a small sample thing running on here. It is 7 a.m., right? Or is that? Yeah, right. But here we can finally like play around a little bit without breaking my heap, which I was kind of happy to find something. I did download like a lot of Pinterest pictures from like boards that I gathered. So there's everything in there. We can sort a few things, play a bit around with this. And a few things that didn't at all make it into the video, like you saw the filters maybe, but there's like a lot more settings that we can use to actually show this in a kind of nice way. And we'll go more in depth about these in a bit. It's summer in Australia. It's a half year ahead of Europe. Yeah, right. Like here, it's like amazingly cold today. Insane, like -4 degrees. Yeah, we might need to go around to fix the Docker Compose file in the documentation. That might not have been that bad. Though I think the overall setup just needs to work, that people that actually want to install this on their server can actually do that. And with no further things, let me first show you what my first learning was with today's release. People basically went to my video and said, hey, cool, now let me check the pricing. Then they went to the pricing page and looked at this and told me, hey, this is like a subscription thing and that's not really cool. And I can totally see why that happened, because if you look at this part, you only see the subscriptions, but you can scroll down, and down here, there's the one-time license, the perpetual license things. I might need to reorder that to be a bit more intuitive. We might figure out something, but I didn't notice how easily people are just, oh, this is like the entire page, so I'm done with that. That's still a subscription thing. Not sure if things on here were confusing before that as well. I added a few more notes to it, like the 1 year of feature updates. It's not general updates. Like you can update the container just fine. Your license will just say, hey, you're basically on feature version 1 or something. And once I add things like advanced things with more collaboration tools or something like that, these would be added. That's kind of what is kind of highlighted in the roadmap. We have like quite a few more things, but I think I need to readjust this thing too to actually match way better what is planned, because these are not like the versions as how I would release new versions, but it's the next upcoming steps basically. So, let me see. In Heaper, we right now have quite a few options, and I'll just go back to the basic things first, because we will get a few more updates in the near future making this UI a bit more intuitive, but let's start with the basics. Is that actually filling the screen properly? Let me adjust this a tiny bit. That's much better. So in here, the first thing you need to remember what is going on is like, this is a sheet. You can grab this top piece here. And that means we're always on some block. Did you also change the pricing model? Because last time it looked like there was a size limit for self. Yeah, exactly. That was like the main thing people mentioned. The pricing versions, first of all, that the pricing for all these plans I had, I hid the new Ultra plan thing now, so that this is kind of what I expect people to get. And the self-hosted one now is unlimited storage. There's just this one, and it has unlimited storage. The idea wasn't to limit your storage when you have your self-hosted server. It's basically to make cheaper versions of that license for people that don't need that much storage. Because quite frankly, people that host their own home lab with about like 350 terabytes, that's why I put the number there, definitely have like a different budget for what they are building than someone who just plugs in an old hard disk into like a Raspberry Pi. And I kind of wanted to have both of these. Now it's a bit simpler because I got rid of all these separate tiers of the self-hosted versions. That isn't a problem at all. And you can still get like the subscription things if you think like, hey, this is kind of expensive. And because of these subscriptions, you need to remember they support me in a more reoccurring way. So I don't need to gamble on how many more months I can work on this before going back to some freelance project. And that's why you not only get like online service cloud storage with this, but you also get the entire self-hosting server while you're subscribed. That's like kind of the thing. You can either subscribe to get this on however long you pay, or you buy a license and you keep it forever with the updates and everything. The only thing is it's really confusing for me to explain how licenses work again, because the way it worked back in the day was just you get a major version for a software. Let me think of an example that we had. I did buy things like iStat menus, for example. That's like one of the go-to apps I had on my Mac every time, with just how much processing power was taken. And these did an update for the newer macOS version every year, basically. Why do I need to pay for security updates? You don't need to pay for security updates. That's like the entire thing. The security updates are kind of Oh, you mean because it's not listed on the free? Oh God, kind of right. I should list that there too. I'll write that down. And these are the kinds of things that I encounter like all the time currently. I think, hey, I just write down it includes security updates, so it's much clearer what the license actually includes. But the free version is basically the same thing as Pro, just with the storage limit. It's like a trial version, but it still gets all the updates. You just install the newest version of that on your server. You can update it all the time. There's like nothing else missing. And pricing has been like one hell of a thing today. And yeah, so I'll make sure that the include security updates is like on both of them. Not sure if that makes sense, but I'll likely add a full blog article explaining how all this works and what the future in here is supposed to be. Because I don't want you to upgrade these things every year like some software does, but I want you to actually get something new out of the tool. It's actually like the features that I promise with like organizing your files and everything, linking notes between another, having these synced and everything, that should all be like the baseline. And everything else, for example, like advanced collaboration tools that I want to add, more permission management and these things, maybe features for companies to use or teams to play with. These are then like the next step. I have like a 6-plan step or something for the future with integrations and plugins and all these kinds of things. Not sure how long I take to implement them, but I'm really happy to hear that people actually like the product at all. That's like the main thing here. And let's go back to the example about the app before we continue anything else. Like just as an example, I still need to remove that from here too, right? Let me write that down too. Count. So I had this early supporter offer where you could get like the license for the 1 tier higher, but now that it's just in the free version and there's just one version, this one doesn't really make much sense anymore. The model seems fair to me. The only concern I have is that having to pay for a new license every year could become expensive. Yes, and that's kind of a thing there. That's why subscriptions give like more security to your developer, because you basically pay a bit less, but you definitely are going to pay at least for that year, basically. Or unless you cancel, so to say. With the perpetual licenses, you basically buy that once and you would never need to update it. You can just be happy with the features that I gave you and then continue on. And you would get updates for all the things the app has to do. Maybe it's not getting like connectivity things like collaboration, but you could be doing all the things from the start to the next 10 years. So in that sense, it's kind of not really clear to the developer if you ever are going to purchase anything again. So there might be things like some tools offer like discounts if you continuously upgrade your license. I think that's just kind of forcing you into reverse kind of subscription. That's not kind of where I want to go. And the other thing with it is that you basically only need to upgrade if you find something like a new feature that you would like. And normally your renewal cycles for when you bought a license don't align with whenever I push a new feature. So maybe you get 2 years easily out of the perpetual license without missing anything. And that's like the whole thing about it. How would Heaper be matching ZFS file system? Matching? I'm not fully sure what you would mean by that. Currently, Heaper doesn't care what file system it's on. It basically just writes the file on your NAS to the drive, and it has a separate directory where you can have the thumbnails, for example. So you can have that on a cache drive, not in your RAID array, and be able to load these instantly on an SSD or something. which makes like setting up a new device really easy because it pulls these quite fast. With ZFS, I think currently I'm on ButterFS, and I tried it on APFS too. There's like no problems basically. So, but matching ZFS file system, I think there isn't a problem. Like you can just do that on like your true NAS, have ZFS installed, put a Heaper Docker container on there, and have your files in your system. The main goal in the end will be, how do you actually want to store the files on your file system? Also, I can, if I'm not showing much, I can also just go into like a bit of chat mode for now. The complete thing here is that your files all are just like your normal files on your NAS. And that's kind of what I did usually. I put the pictures from my phone onto my PC and then moved them over to the NAS. If I'm fancy, I have like a file manager that I can access my NAS with from my phone directly and move the files there. But these processes are always kind of error prone. Sometimes like a transfer is only halfway done and I only notice after I deleted the file from my phone again. That's really annoying. That's why I tend to not do these things manually. I have on Android, I use rsync to actually move over the files to my NAS, which is kind of nice. From there, Heaper can either index the files that are on your NAS directly, and the server renders all the thumbnails and creates like the index for everything and then syncs it to your phone, or you put them in through your phone and add them to Heaper and then can delete them from your device once you see them in the list. That does kind of work pretty well. The other thing with it is, though, how do the folders actually be structured then? Because if you normally put stuff onto your NAS, you kind of tend to make folders for everything, just because it's easier to browse. Also, which is the main problem with this whole thing, and why I actually started so hard to make this a proper tool, you can't have folders that have more than like 2,000 or 5,000 entries. Your normal file manager will just not render any previews, lag for like 2 to 5 seconds every time you do anything, even just selecting stuff. And that's not really working for me. I need something where I can actually browse that faster. I host apps for my broader family. Sync thing, that's like another thing. I like the way that these tools work with sync thing, but my other thing is I have like lots of files. I have like, I think it's 4 terabytes of photos used on my NAS, and I would like to browse them on my phone. And I can't sync all of that to my phone to just have it with me. That's why I do all these preview things, so I can have like just the tiny thumbnails, scroll through everything, even if I'm in a train or like there's no connectivity, which in Germany is kind of often the case, especially if you travel by train. And then you can even sort through all these pictures in your time where you don't have internet, and you still have those changes synced back to your server in the end. That's like really, really nice. Usually, if I did these things, I always needed to be connected with SSH or have my file manager access to this thing. That's like always kind of a complaint by me. And see, that's like the first Twitch message. I'll see if there's an integration to add for the like chat messages on stream interfaces from YouTube. I haven't seen them yet though. Regarding this file problem, how do you split up uploaded files so they don't all land in one upload folder on the server? Exactly. I don't. The cool thing is currently what I tested was that I just add everything to one folder and it's just not browsable in the file manager. Because you can still very easily manage these things in the terminal. That does not have any handicap there. But if you want to use the file manager, you kind of need to have some solution for that. And what I want to do there is I want you to select certain blocks, which are basically a folder then. And because every block is just, if I go back to this thing, every block can have other things in it. So if I just open the sidebar, ooh, my monitors want to turning off. Let me see. If we go to keyboards, this thing acts kind of like a folder. You have a title, you have content, but this thing also can have text to it. I can just write whatever I want about keyboards in here. And then I have linked some keyboard images. Now, this keyboard image could also be the folder. That's where it gets a bit tricky. But everything that's not a file could actually act like a folder. And if you tag something with it, you could move these files into that folder then. This is where it gets a tiny bit tricky, and I'll catch up to YouTube chat in just a second. With having these files then moved to some other place, that's all good and easy, but you could tag them with multiple places that are marked as folders. So you couldn't build like a full hierarchy with these things, but you still need to make sure that it's either just in one of these locations or that you use sim or hard links. And I kind of don't want to complicate things with symlinks or hard links. So I'm thinking maybe just using or setting a tag as this is like the primary one for this block. We'll set it into that folder. And then like nested hierarchies make sense, and you have like a primary one, but the other pieces basically work the same way, just they're not in a folder in the end. I kind of think that's kind of nice because you can swap the location of all your files just by selecting a different primary tag, and kind of your hard drive configures to that new state. That's kind of nice. I understand that you need to pay your own bills and stuff, but I would hope to host it without file size limitations. Feature limits are fine for me, but alone my mom, dad images are more than 500 gigabytes. Yes. So with the licensing things that we have right now, we don't have any storage limit on the license that you can buy, which basically just means you can use the free version as a trial version to see if everything works for you, if your NAS supports it, if it's fast enough for you. No restrictions, no time limits, just play around with it. It just is capped at 50 gigabytes. This is kind of intentional because I kind of want people that don't use many files to get this thing for free. That's like the entire thing there. And then you buy one license and you can use it with multiple people and get updates for it, have unlimited storage, and get all the fancy features of even having for every person, like they can have multiple heaps and store things on their own. In future versions, there will be sharing and collaboration tools as well, but that's like the idea for it. Like a big hard drive accessible from the network? Yeah, exactly. So do you just plug in a hard drive into your internet box? Depends on your internet box. Some do support that stuff, but it's rarely that they actually have Docker support. So you would need something like a Synology NAS or like your own PC that runs or something like that. The cool thing though is if you just want to try it out, you can just install it on your laptop or on your PC and run the Docker container on there. And every time you want to sync something, you basically, did my network just crashed? Why is the player gone? No, it's fine. Everything's good. And every time you want to sync something, you just need to have that PC on. So for example, you're on the go, you don't need any DNS or things as a setup. And when you come back home and use your phone and press sync basically, and as long as your laptop or PC is on at that time, you can sync it with that one. You don't need to have a separate device for that right now. It's way more involved than that, but the simplest form sort of, that's like a response to the hard drive thing. Yeah, exactly. It's like the simplest form are like the Fritzbox things. I'm not sure if those are internationally available, but you can have like a USB drive attached to it and then host like a NAS with just basic file management and really not fast storage, but it works for some things. But those don't have much compute. For Heaper, I would recommend something that actually has enough compute to even generate like the server-side thumbnails and the video thumbnails. Because with video files, that's like the main thing I hate. I want to scrub through the video file and see what's going on there before I actually open the video file. Most of my videos are starting when I like point it down at like some sheet of paper and then move it somewhere. And all of these I kind of need to see, is that the right one? And you can set like a custom thumbnail for each. We'll get into more of these things later, but yeah. iCloud. Like, iCloud is kind of the reason why I stopped using Obsidian because that wiped my files just simply as that. I heard that there is like a feature way to actually have Obsidian track the version so you don't lose things because of that. But like just this newer state tracking isn't working for me. Any plans on natively supporting Tailscale or similar for remote network access to self-hosted? Yes, technically, I was thinking of either allowing you to simply use a service for like your DNS setup or VPN or WireGuard, for example. WireGuard is what I use. I just route into my home network and connect to it basically through WireGuard. The interesting thing with that is I usually on the go don't have sync connected. So my NAS is basically all the time just at home. And then if I want to sync, I can actually just turn it on and it's good to go. Then it just syncs and I can turn it back off whenever I need. I don't need to be in that all the time. That's what I just had. Really appreciate the effort. It looks really well thought out and beautiful. Oh, that's really nice because the last comment I read was kind of, ooh, I kind of hate the design. And so this is really good to hear. But it's basically kind of like the desktop version kind of feels like a phone version. It is kind of my intention though. I don't want you to rewire your brain every time you switch devices, and I want to have this working on small phones, tablets, even like the foldable ones and something like that. And that means the responsive design needs to go all the way through. And that also means it was a lot of effort. Let me actually show that maybe. If I open this thing up and select something with drag, it is such a pain to get that working seamlessly with pointer and touch events, because at the start I even did way more complicated things where you don't just drag, but you can draw like the box selection things on desktop, but not on mobile. Since then, it actually turned out people kind of like the mobile selection way a bit more than the desktop one. There's one issue though. Why not open source or an architecture at least like Obsidian? Any plans for this? So it is as close to the Obsidian architecture that I can go. That's just all I can say about that, because all the files are still on your system, both on the client. They are just in normal folders that you can use in your apps and link to something. I could use these in my video projects. I could use them in my audio player. I can even have them on my NAS and sync with Plex and everything because it's just the same folder. You don't need to do anything there. If you want the tags and the relations as well as the text also in files, I was thinking of adding an option for that, but it would include that every write you do, it writes to the database and creates or updates a file that's on your drive. That's not always what you want for performance. It does work, but you cannot edit the file on the outside thing, because if you edit that with another editor, I kind of need to change this file as like the source of truth and load it into the CRDTs. And that might work. I might get that to work. I have not seen that working anywhere yet, because I kind of have to put all the things into that file then. So the markdown file would, for example, include a lot of header parts about what nodes it's linked to with their IDs. It wouldn't look as pretty as like an Obsidian markdown file. And that's just because the tags work differently here. Like the connections to these are not just the name of something, they're actually the ID of these blocks. And having these in Markdown might work, but they're actually what I like the most about this whole system, because the linking now is free from this renaming stuff and everything, and they just stick in place. It also guarantees that things changed with changed names on multiple local devices resolve seamlessly to the correct block in the end. Oh, and open source is a whole nother rabbit hole. I'm not against open source. I have like a lot of open source projects, even like with POG and everything that I do. But in here, I kind of want to take it a bit slow. So it might evolve into being open source. I can't guarantee that yet. I need to just take a look on how things work out. This is like the first time showing that to a lot of people. and the reactions to it are way more than I expected. Because, like, imagine I'm working on this thing since about 18 years. That's what I did basically fresh while I was still in school and did like my Abiturabschlussprüfung. And this, since then, I've always have been working on this. And this was way before Obsidian. It was before Notion, before Anytype, and all these things. And now I just don't want to like have someone scrape it instantly. I'd like to at least show it off as, hey, this is my thing now, and then we can see further. What I see the problem with Heaper is when you casually need the file system, for example, actually need the file system for photo and video editing and asset management. Perfect thing that you mentioned this. The cool thing about this is still using the file system. So I can just press show in Finder and there it is. I have the normal file on my drive. You can link that to another app, for example, in your photo editor, in your video editor. This asset's file location will not change. We are linking this by the SHA-260, what, 256? Yeah, that one. And so the hash of the file actually dictates its file path. That means if you change the name, it just stays there. Your video editor, everything will continue to work. It's, I think, even nicer than managing your files the normal way. And on the NAS, you have more freedom to move your files around, because I think that's like the source of truth, where you actually want to have your files sorted the way you like. You can even move them and it finds where you moved the files and stuff like that, but I wouldn't recommend that at this point. Actually, one sec. Pangolin is a great option for a secure reverse proxy with load balancing, WireGuard, SSL handling, and tunneling. I might write that down and check that out later. That is a good trick then. In my case, I'm always traveling. I do not have the possibility to build a home server, so I'm always looking for other solutions. Wait, didn't I like miss one? I think I saw somewhere there was like I think I did miss quite a lot. How did I miss so much? 1 second, because I saw the VPS thing. Yeah, so the VPS stuff and S3 Garage, blah, 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 all that thing. Yeah, so you can use this theoretically with S3 storage. This is built on the Swift library for object storage, and those should be compatible to S3. I might need to look into that, but you could host it on a VPS with object storage if you like in S3 buckets. You can also host it on a VPS with normal storage. That's also fine. That's exactly how these things can work. Let me see. I think I found one other one. Did you take cues from Perkeep? Perkeep. Let me look that up. I don't remember that project, but I think, does that name sound like Perkeep? Open source format, software modeling. I have never seen that before. Like, I might need to look into that as well. Very interesting that you all know so many tools, and that's like the one thing every time. Like everyone's like, didn't you see like this tag spaces thing or so? And I'm like, no, I have not seen that at all. It's like a 2-year-old project by now, and it seems to actually be kind of close to what Heaper wants to be, though I haven't checked the app and how the local first stuff syncs and everything. But what I will guess is that the direction of where they go might differ quite a lot from what I have in mind. Will it be possible to export nodes and stuff to open formats in case I want to migrate? Yes, and it's already built in. So right now we can have this export block button, and it just gets you a JSON file of that block. That also, of course, works for multiple blocks. Right now, it's not exporting everything. It's basically only for selections. But of course, that is a thing. And I would hope to make this a really open standard kind of on how to save things. because this is not limited to how Heaper works. We need to connect data and files together way more properly. And I have a lot of things planned for things that are a bit advanced or more advanced than just tags or mentions. We have attributes coming up. That will be a really, really fun one, because that kind of needs to be in everything. And I don't really like how the Obsidian, what was the thing named where at the top part they have the attributes? I forgot the name for it, but that part is not kind of how I want to save attributes everywhere. Moin Jan, glad to catch you here. Do you plan to implement MTLS to implement kind of zero trust? MTLS, I need to look up what that thing was. What was MTLS compared to normal TLS? It is an extension on the transport security that requires both clients and the server to authenticate each other using digital certificates. Oh, I do that, I think, but manually. So how this works is before you connect to a server, you ask the server for the public key that the server has. You can validate the public. Let me actually show that before we go on too deep. I go onto like the production server. Let's maybe, yeah, just stay here, I guess. You get this public key up here, and that one is validated with the key pair challenge thing, where you sign a message and everything. And yeah, with that, the server kind of needs to verify that it's actually the server it says it is. And that does the same thing on your own servers too. Like they all need to check if the private key is properly defined and if that actually is the one we're using. Same goes to your data. You also have a public key. It's not formatted as nice as on the servers. I might update that. That might be a good idea. And that way your client can also tell the server that you're the person you say you are without needing an email address. At the early stages of Heaper, I didn't have email addresses in the tool at all, though it turns out actually everybody uses email and it's kind of easier than everything else. So we kind of have like email for all the payment things, for just signing in for normal people that don't want to do anything with like passphrases or something, because these can be put on like a YubiKey or something like that, but currently you only add them through entering your passphrase, which isn't the ideal solution, but it's fine for now. I've set up my Unraid server with image Nextcloud Obsidian. Is it possible to use Heaper in parallel to test it out? Yes, of course. I also still use Obsidian. I still use, though not that frequently, I need to be honest. I tried image. I have like, what was the other thing? Copy Party, which is like a very simple file browser thing for your NAS that you can host there. And that one, how do I say that, is a bit more bare bones, but I tried that on the NAS anyways. Nextcloud, I couldn't get warm with that at all, but as long as you point the directories of where the server reads its data to the same folders, Heaper doesn't interfere with your other services. So you can just try that out. And would be great if you find anything that's making problems, feel free to reach out. As well, there might be some things, there's like a Heaper ignore file. So that thing matches like file patterns Heaper shouldn't index, because with other tools, they sometimes add like weird metadata files somewhere that you don't want to have in your heap in the end. Would it be possible for someone to create another client or integration in another app that would work with Heaper? Yes, but it would be really complicated. I might be releasing a library that other people can use for that, though I'm not sure if that's that easy. Right now, you need to see, this seems like a simple Electron app on the surface, basically, but it actually doesn't do that much in, like, doesn't do much that's not the front end in the front end. So all these things, all actions are done in a Rust core that's like the base and that's running cross-platform on everything, because the CRDTs have some memory overhead if they're not running natively. And yeah, so you need to have this whole syncing, because everything's local, like mirror the entire data set for you with all metadata. And do everything locally, then edit it on the CRDTs to actually be able to do like different client. And that's like the most hard part about that. So I wouldn't suggest trying to build another client. There are ways where I want to have this as a web-only interface where you basically do all that through server functions and have that as not offline first, and then you could build your own client. The API for that is not restricted. I only have rate limits in normal cases, basically, so you don't like spam your own server to death or mine. But yeah, so these are possible, but it kind of depends on what you actually want to do with that. I use Caddy with layer 4 extension for my reverse proxy needs. I had tried Caddy before. I actually use Caddy for quite a bit of my development projects, and it's really nice. It works really well, and it's quite fast. Though reverse proxying is like another thing. It really depends on how you want to expose things in the end to your end devices. As oh god, there's quite a bit more chat. I might need to catch up a bit. The YouTube chat is also not the best in terms of readability, it seems. Okay, but yeah, like all this networking stuff, there's something that I'm planning for that, as I like to have things as seamless as possible. So there might be the option that the Heaper cloud would help you connect to your custom server. But I'm not sure if people actually like that, because currently everything's completely cut off from the Heaper cloud thing if you have a self-hosted instance. Though some connection might be beneficial, I think people might see that as like, oh, I'm sending data to the Heaper server, but it doesn't send any of your data there. It's just about like getting you the new IP address so you don't need to use DNS or something like that. Is there another asset tool that had, didn't I? Oh, I did skip that. The same problem is called Eagle. Oh yeah, Eagle is really great actually. That's I like that tool a lot. The only problem for me is it's completely local, and so I can't do much with that. Like I don't want to work on my desk all the time. I want to be able to go to my phone, do things in the living room or something like that, and still have everything working out with that. And synced, of course. The WireGuard with reverse proxy is totally open. Yeah, it's amazing. What is the concept? What are blocks? Very good thing. So let's go one more demo. What are blocks? So if you create a block with this plus button down here, you just enter something and you get a block. This is just text. You can write or even dictate, I want to write something fun here. And have, like, that's not in my app, but of course you have like system level dictation modes on your devices. These are kind of nice for just writing down normal things. You have formatting options like you do everywhere else. You can do them with colors or things like that. This is where it's kind of nicer to not use Markdown, I think. But the block isn't just the text. It also gets to have a title if you like. You don't need to have a title, unlike normal files. File name isn't the title all of the times. It's just an additional thing for you to summarize what you're actually talking about. And then there's tags to these things. So if I, for example, write at keyboards, then I can link to the keyboard block. I can go there, it's now connected, and now this node that I have shows up inside the keyboard thing. You can see it here. And I can, I'm not still in selection mode. And I can jump back and forth between them. You can see these tags in here as kind of the navigating up part, or when they're round, they're like the mentions. That's like kind of navigating sideways. Oh, that's even better. I have like a demo mode here. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Don't tell anyone. That's like my debug thing. Here. So that's like the onboarding thing. Let me actually read up on chat before I miss anything, but I'll continue with these things quite a bit. The Heaper demo is really interesting. MTLS, we like the idea of tagging for organizing files and notes. Having the show and the finder button is great, but when using native file system dialogues to select files, it seems clunky. where do you use like native file system dialogs to select things? You can just drag them in. You can just drag them in anywhere. They appear in the upload dialog and then get like inserted there. That's kind of the whole thing. What about exposing some of these tags as virtual folders on OS level so that native file selector dialogs can... Oh, you mean the other way around. That's kind of nice. I like that. I will write that down. I would do that with symlinks, and then you can, like, the system can figure out everything else. For system select. The whole thing about that is I was thinking of making like a fuse file system first, and it turns out the support is horrible, and I would not recommend doing any of that. Think of blocks like containers of relevant stuff, exactly, and connect them also. So let's go to explore here. I think I took so much care with getting this thing going right. So all the time, if there's an image attached to a node or a file, then in the bottom right corner, there will be a small preview with a node. You basically always get to the file first and then have a node attached. But if you just have a node and it doesn't have a file, this thing doesn't show up. The other way around, it does. Like, this is how you switch between like the file part and the actual node. This thing down here is your heap. That's where you get to all of your blocks. And then creating things is just a simple push button away. And this is why I opened this demo. The tags are basically a hierarchy where you can navigate down. While and I'll leave that slide open, while the mentions are relations that are more horizontal. That's like navigating on things that are on the same level. And tags give you hierarchy that you can nest and everything, but the mentions basically create a web of information for you, like the Obsidian graphs that you always see. MTLS means clients have to offer the trusted TLS cert, and server only answers trusted clients. Yeah, it's kind of a similar implementation to MTLS. I'm implementing it on my reverse proxy. It only talks to trusted clients. That's nice. That's still nice. I still do it just in application. It's not on the protocol, but I'll look into that. The problem is, like, on some devices, these things are really tricky, and because I cannot use oh, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. You cannot use self-signed certificates if you want to actually use that on your phone, because Apple decided that it's nice that if the web view is in your app, that the self-signed certificates just doesn't count. Like, they don't work there. I'm like, what? You can't? So that's basically the long story about why I do everything manually. Thanks for your work and cool app. Thank you so much. Is a TUI in mind? I live in my terminal, and how would this work with repo directories? So, good question. I would not encourage you to put repository files in here, because it's more meant for like long-term storage, things you would put onto your NAS to archive, basically. Everything like pictures, documents that are kind of done, so to say, or where you can say this is a version snapshot that I would like to keep and add information to, things I would like to catalog or something like that. And that makes much more sense, especially if you go into how files sync, because all the merge conflicts, the text doesn't have merge conflicts, neither the title nor the content, none of the rich text, and the tags as well, and attributes in the future too. But the actual binary data of the files, those cannot be merged. That's just not a thing that will ever work. So if you do two edits in like a picture, you get two new versions pushed onto your currently active block, basically. This is like just a version history feature. It's not currently visible, but I have all the stuff built for that. So having that for code files or things that change frequently just is not ideal and not the use case for that. I would suppose do those outside of the system. The TUI thing, I think that would be nice, but I guess they will just be talking to an API that's running on the app that you have to run on your system then, like as a local bridge kind of thing, because that has the benefit that you can still use it in the app, but also in the TUI. I was thinking of doing that at some point, though it is not the focus, because it still requires the app to do basically everything and keep store of all the sync progress and all these things. And re-implementing this whole thing just for the TUI might not be worth it at this point. How are you addressing the bus factor of 1? I'm assuming you're only working on this as of now. That's actually really correct. This is something which made me way more nervous while I was not able to publish this yet. Because if no one knows I'm working on this and I disappear, it's just gone. Now you have at least the idea of it, and that is kind of nice, I think. At least that relaxes me quite a bit, because I've been working on it for forever, and it would be such a waste if that never gotten to see the light of day. Though I do think I would need to have something like an automatic kill switch thing that, though I can just ask my brother if something's happening to me, like, could you please open source that thing or so. That's kind of my way out for that. But other than that, there's not really anything yet. I don't have co-founders. I don't have people working with me. And currently, well, it's kind of the first time I actually have users. So happy to see this is even a real thing that I need to worry about now. Yes, you should offer a DNS Lite service with NAT punch through via your heap cloud. Yeah, that is exactly what I would like to do. That seems like something where people have the need for, like the people that just, like they just have a phone and put a like Raspberry Pi in their home, and then they just want to get started. And this thing would just do exactly that. And I think that's a kind of nice idea, especially when later on more advanced features are coming and stuff like that. So you need to know which tags you have used, or is there a listing what you have? That's the best question today, actually. Take a look. Let's let's skip this thing for now. Back to my playground thing. So everything is a tag. So of course everything will show up in your heap. Like the block we just created exists here, and the reference to keyboard also exists here, but it also shows up on your heap. It's right there. And you get like these small thumbnails for like the cards that are inside that folder. So that basically means the entire structure, how you manage everything, is the same for your mentions, your tags, your files, your notes, everything. And this is what makes it actually cool, because you can then sort things in deeper structures. Use things like, oh, only show me things that are not linked. Usually that would mean things like the keyboard folder should show up here. But I was not quite dumb to just leave that there. Instead, things that are pinned on the sidebar are also sorted away. Those count. That means if I unpin this, and do I need to reload that? I've never tried that actually. That is kind of interesting. If I like go here and then go back. Oh yeah, then that appears again. So if I pin it to the sidebar, it disappears from this list, which basically means these pinned items here, I can only pin if I have just one selected. I might need to change that. If I pin these, all my folders that I'm using are actually not in my unlinked view anymore and act as kind of the top level folders. And the top level folders then make it like feel like you have your normal things in here, and these can have sub entries, for example. So if we go to keyboard and just add the tag to like desk setup or something, then of course in desk setup we will have the folder keyboard appear. And that's how like the whole goal here, that everything's following the same system. So whatever you do when you sort things, it's all the same structure. So all the benefits that you get from having things like, oh, this is still alphabetically or something, like sorting these around or stuff like that, all that applies to whatever it is. So basically what I usually do is I have this thing and add like a tag to it called tags. Seems weird, but is really convenient, because if you pin yourself that one and you then go through the search and go to search tag and then press tab, it shows everything that's tagged with that tag. God, it's confusing, but I'll maybe figure out the naming a bit more. But that means you basically scope the entire search to that one, everything that's tagged with that tag. So I can now search for everything that is a tag. So keyboard is one, and I can find it much simpler if I need to narrow down the search in larger groups, basically. Good evening. Are you planning to also publish Docker images for ARM? Right now, the thing that's stopping me from doing that is that the image generation libraries that I'm using for the thumbnails don't all support ARM. And I need to take a look at why that's the case. I haven't tested that in the last few months, but at some point that will just happen, and then it's easy as like switching to the other image and you're good. Right now, you need to run it in emulation mode for AMD 64, which basically means your Docker container is emulating the x64 system, and you can still use this on an ARM device. You have single sign-on or other method for authentication. Not yet. We only have the email login and the, do I just call it private key authentication? Yeah. So it's not built for single sign-on right now, just because I don't want to have internet dependencies for your self-hosted servers. That's like the whole thing. If everything's offline, you can log in, create new clients, create new users on there. Everything still works. You don't need to have access to the Heaper cloud. The Heaper cloud can be offline. Nothing stopping you from doing anything, basically. And for companies, I do think single sign-on will be added, though I don't think it will be of any benefit to normal users. Heaper also reminds me a lot of Tag Studio, but multi-node. Like, I love Tag Studio, and the last year, when the first video for that thing dropped, I was really, really hyped about it. I was like, oh my god, someone's building like the tool I'm building. And I chatted with him quite a bit on his live streams. And the tool is really nice, but it has like a totally different architecture. It's not at all even close to following what I, or like why I built it the way I built it, because I kind of wanted to not have that on my system so I can have it on all of my devices and have it running on a NAS. And that's like the entirety why everything's built around it this way. But the tagging approaches that he did with how the tags can be grouped, how you can have tags relate to another and stuff like that, I really like that. He's kind of the only person I've seen talking about tags that much. And I have kind of a lot of similar problems that I tackled in a slightly different way. We don't agree on all like executions of these, but it's really interesting. I don't think I have it installed currently, but I had it a while ago. What's the plan for implementing plugins? Plugins will come for sure. Likely they will just be kind of the similar thing as in Obsidian. There will be some repositories that are whitelisted, and you can then download them in the app, basically. Though I'm not even sure, do they whitelist them? I think they do. But technically you can write plugins on that interface in the end. The only issue is I need to kind of care about modularity. You have two sidebars just in like Obsidian, but there's not that many spaces left to actually put more buttons. And I also think Obsidian has a problem with way too many buttons. And I still think I have a problem with way too many buttons. And I have like a quarter of the buttons as Obsidian has. So might be a bit finicky to get that working. But overall, I would like them to hook into like the pieces of the front end and into like when things happen. So you can have things like custom displays for your calendar things and daily notes and everything. The major thing there might just be templates. I think those are like the things I want to build in first. But the other thing is, I don't want you to need plugins as much as you do with Obsidian. I want the basics to all be implemented, to always work, so we don't have to hunt for a third-party plugin for that to actually work. This should be the place which kind of covers most of the things you actually do. Oh no, a Raspberry Pi SD card would be the absolute toast. Yeah, with imagine having that on just the SD card. I'm not kind of sure if I might just try that and see how far it gets. Is sharing to someone outside easy, or receiving a file built-in pair drop like easy web interface would be killer? That is definitely planned. Sending things from heap to heap, only issue I have here is it's kind of twofold. So it's either people are sending you things and you receive it into your heap, into an inbox kind of thing, or do you get it to your device and then you can decide if you want to have it like in your heap and add it to that, or do you just want to share things from Heaper to somewhere else? Because the sharing is basically the same thing as other devices have. You just have like a share hotkey in on mobile. But here we just have the save to downloads folder as an export thing if you want to put it somewhere or something like that, or show the original file. That will be like a bit far away from now, but I think that it has potential. About those lib checks here. Oh, did you mean, I think there might be no message displayed after your colon, or yeah, colon. The interesting part with the lib checks for some apps, there's like an issue with Sharp, and I don't fully know why that's happening now, because it never happened on any of my devices, but it seems like there's some library bundling issues. I will definitely fix that, but I need to do that on another system. I can't just uninstall libvibs on my system. That would break quite a few things. Did you consider Monero or other cryptos as payment option as a privacy conscious user at B? Okay, so that's like payment. That's another hellhole of difficulty, because I'm in Germany. We take taxes kind of seriously, and that means it's insanely difficult to even have international payment done properly. It's so difficult that I'm gladly doing just Google and Apple Pay things via mobile for now, because implementing the other things, even though I've built in everything for Stripe so you can actually buy this on the website and stuff like that, just to disable it, because I noticed, wait, I need to check the taxes in where you are from. I still need to get your full address and name and everything, because that's required for my taxation things for online purchases. It's insane. It's actually quite a lot of effort, and I'm still not even sure that even if I follow all of these things, if that's enough, because I need to pay whatever state in the US. If I go above certain thresholds, I need to do that manually. That's not an automated thing. There is lots of things that are happening. And now the worst part, there are, what are they called? Merchant of records that do kind of sell your app for you and then take care of all this tax thing. That's kind of what other people do. That's kind of most of the people that I know that build apps use these things. Guess what these don't allow? File sharing applications. I guess Heaper handles user data, and in the future you might be able to share it. So I don't think that's gonna happen for me. So I need to currently take care to just be using like the big cloud providers like Apple or Google for payment, and I hope to expand that to Stripe when I have time. You just need to see that whenever I switch from actually coding on this or creating content for everything, I can't do like the tax stuff. There's so many intricacies with building just the payment stuff that I spent like months on just getting payment done. And I haven't even enabled it right now. Yeah, like you can purchase it on iOS, I think, but on Google, there's still the waitlist active. I will go through that today and get all the emails into the early access stuff so people can actually try it on Android. And after 14 days per Google's policy, I will actually get it into the store. That would be kind of nice. But yeah, so crypto might be happening. I kind of just need to figure out how the tax stuff works for everything. Is there somewhere where I can give feedback to and info? I got a Docker Compose working now. The best thing currently is Discord. If you just join the Discord server that's linked on, do I have that on the profile? I think I have it on the janlunge.de webpage. And the Discord server is kind of the place where we share everything. There's a Heaper subgroup in there where we can actually share the files and stuff like that. So I can edit and move things around. The best part about that is you can either send me a DM there or be in the group chat. And the group chat is kind of nice, so people actually see what's going on. And I love that they have some insight on what's happening. Is there a merge conflict logic already in Heaper? There are no merge conflicts and there never will be. I know people said there for sure are gonna happen merge conflicts. No, like the CRDTs, like they keep things that are deleted as tombstones, and that means even if you delete something and write something exactly at that line, it's gonna merge because it knows where that place was. And as things can only be inserts or deletes, that's kind of the whole thing. I think there is still timestamps and stuff like that, but there is no, I'm gonna have issues with the text. All the tags and mentions are also done in a way where they merge seamlessly, and files are not replacing the other files, they're uploaded as new versions. So files have versioning and nodes have like the step history, which you could also, and that's like a whole nother feature I want to build, you can undo that state history and then basically have fun with checking which device added what line, go back a few steps, because these things, if they are more graphical, that would be so nice for actually editing content. Because I usually currently either write with the Svalbard, which is still like this thing. Still great, love it, it's amazing. But I also started more voice typing now with the great transcription models that are available. And that creates quite a lot of text. And I would love to be able to just step back when iterating about content, especially when I write video scripts. The Windows app in Windows Sandbox requires the installation of BC. Oh. Wait. In a Windows Sandbox environment that works differently? That's something I have not like dived deep enough in. Let me just write that down into like stream notes. And yeah, it's normal. I can't type it when I'm on stream. I'm not usually like this. And there's also this like add as title, then I can add these things. Do I need to remove the coloring that's like from perfect. Let's go on. Repo, GitHub, nothing, standard lib, no things? I have no idea what that means. Ja, die ganzen Regulierungen in Deutschland sind wirklich lästig. Und, yeah, the regulations in Germany are really a pain. And the most funny thing I've seen in quite a while are actually people in in different states all around the world that just create websites and be like in this whole I'm a founder, I'm just shipping fast and stuff like that, while completely ignoring all guidelines. It's insane. Like you've seen on my website, I'm not even having a cookie tracking banner because I don't track the things that are not trackable by default. There's no cookies for these things, and that's the nice part about it. You can adhere to these rules and make these things correctly, but you would need to understand how that works and know the rules. That's like kind of important. And with payment and taxes and GDPR, there's quite a bit that we can do. Now we also have the AI Act, but that's another thing. I'm also pretty sure that was about May. Then we have... Oh, that's what you mean. No, yeah, that's... Big Tech. Yeah, Heaper looks awesome. I'd love to use it. That would be great. Currently, that's also the reason why everything's free. For now, we have until August, until like the server is completely free to use, just to give feedback, to get things going. I'm definitely planning on making a discount thing for people that use Heaper or give feedback. Maybe end. That would be a good idea, actually, in the launch phase, because this is the stuff that actually helps. Also, you keep contributing to how the pricings are done, how the features are built, how the design is handled, the direction of the project. I don't want to build this on my own. I've got it unto this point completely by myself, basically. And I'm really happy to not need to do that in private anymore, because I never felt it was ready enough where I could even explain it. And I needed to do that kind of 25-minute YouTube video just to get all the ideas out that really kept me going for all these years. what happened to your Tallinn GNU Linux desktop and why didn't you update to macOS Tallinn? Like both of these questions in combinations are really interesting. I do have the Windows tiling, the Linux tiling window manager, but on the other PC. This is my laptop setup right now, and I've switched the Linux PC to be on another screen, which I dual boot for gaming basically. It's not on a high refresh monitor, it's just on a normal screen, but it's larger, and that basically was the case. I think that's in the Svalbard video as well, where I actually have the chair and can lay back a bit more, so that whenever I have something with my neck and I can't continue to work on a desk, I can lay back, have a bigger screen, and work on that thing from there. The tiling window manager right now, I'm not that happy with NixOS, so I'm currently figuring out if I want to switch to Fedora Atomic or things like that, or maybe back to Arch Linux. But these things all are a bit on hold because I spent kind of every minute I had on finally finishing up Heaper. Oh, actually, that's like I need to show you the slides from last year actually, because Heaper looked way different like just 1 year ago. Monero is fishy for me, and I've seen enough of convincing bonds. But I have to thank you for the early Herbstluft video on your channel. Oh, that you have seen that. That's nice. Been using derivative of that config for years now. That's really nice. I still love Herbstluft WM, and I always in English I always pronounce it Herbstluft WM, even though it's Herbstluft. I know it's a bit confusing. My dialect gets mixed up there. But I love my color scheme on these things, and it's still the best window manager I have ever used. I would really like to try out Neri on Windows. Window management and Windows, I get those confused right now. But I would like to try Neri as a sliding window manager. That's still at the top of my list. But I think that's not going to compete with Herbstluft WM. That one is just so nice on an ultra wide with having like the separate spots, then being able to expand and collapse them to make them smaller or larger, have virtual monitors where full screen apps actually only fill that area of the screen. It's so good, and especially with having your bar inset and the windows never going over that, but you don't need to have the bar all the way to the sides. It's great. I still love that thing. Windows Sandbox is a clean Windows VM to test things. Once closed, it's gone. Interesting. I might need that for testing, but I need to say Windows testing is like the last step I usually do, just because I don't like being on Windows, but I need to do it anyways. Register your company in Poland. That might likely work, but I think in Germany, I still need to, don't I need to still comply to the rules here if I distribute to Germany? And that's like the entire fun thing where I think other people that just build apps are getting kind of easy with things. We need to have so many rules applied here if I just live here basically. Google shadow bans all my links, so look up for repository std of user nothings. That's what you mean. Now I get it. Yeah, that's why for link things and everything, join the Discord. I only have that on Twitch. So if I do like DC, does that work? Let me see. Oh yeah. Let me just paste that link in the chat as well here. That's like the place where all that stuff can be shared easily. I was trying to click the roadmap button when going to the website. Possible bug, just figure out I was trying to click the roadmap button when going to the website. Is there a problem with the roadmap button? I mean, if I click the roadmap button, seems about right for me, unless I forgot something. But I'm like so glad for all the feedback every time, because it's kind of hard to test these things on your own in a vacuum. You only have so many devices. Even if I ask all my friends to install it and play around with it, they might just not need a note-taking app. They might just not need to have their pictures sorted or stuff like this. And if I get people that are actually excited about this to try it out, I can so much more easily figure out where the limitations are, on which systems it needs to run. Oh, Discord is in the process of irrelevanting themselves. Yes. I haven't found a good alternative, and I have all people that joined basically through YouTube on there. So I might just be staying for a while, but if some decentral alternative will come around, we will actually likely just also mirror to there. Have you looked into Neary as a desktop environment? I'm currently using it under NixOS, and oh my god, I love it. Really? Any chance for NixOS packages? Heaper will likely be a NixOS package at some point as well, but right now it's just like easier to distribute one container as a Docker container, even though for some reason I think GitHub container registry doesn't properly send the how do I say that? I can also move this over. It doesn't get you to download the thing if you're not authenticated to GitHub, and I'm not sure why that has happened to me at least, and I don't want people to need authentication to just pull a Docker container, especially people that are not in that space. That's really confusing. But Neary is like, I'll write it down again, just because I've seen another friend of mine use Neary, and it's pretty cool. It looks good. It feels nice. The animations are good. I still want something that I can switch over to Wayland, and Herbstluft is just staying on X, so might be a problem. I've got an error when I click on the roadmap after first opening the web page. Sorry, I typed it poorly. I'm on Edge, and it gives a failed to fetch dynamically imported module error. Ooh, that seems interesting. Like currently the Heaper website, which is why it is so slow currently, though I think it's fast enough, but of course on mobile it's not ideal. Oh, you mean you're on Edge as Edge the browser? Yeah, I might need to look into that. I'll move this over to be a static site, but right now, you remember I said like it was a web app? It was like completely a web app, and it kind of looked like this. Can I zoom in here? That's kind of better. So before like this year, the Heaper basically was just more, it wasn't as dynamic, things didn't move. And that's like the entire web page. The marketing stuff on there is just inside the View app. So I might need to move it over to a static page, but I also didn't expect so many people to watch it instantly. So sometimes you need to do things a bit earlier. But in here, let me see if that demo actually works. Like it only had the scrolling part at the bottom, and you had the tag still at the top, but the image stuff was a bit different back then. Also, you get some look in how I actually organize my stuff. And now everything's quite different, but the website is still using the same module that has all the capabilities of the full app, because I want the web app to come back. I want to re-implement that at some point. So I'll just check if the Edge browser has some errors, and I'm not even sure I need to do that on Windows then. Can you tell us a bit more about the architecture? You mentioned Rust. What kind of DB is used? What front-end framework? Will there be options for custom UI theming? First of all, custom UI theming will happen for sure. And I likely will add it more as a first-party kind of step before actually giving like CSS injection things a chance, just because I think users are too easy to break these things, and I don't want to have people mess around with these things and be unhappy about it. I know developers can do way more. We're using Tailwind for this entire thing, so we have Vue.js as front end, we have Tailwind as CSS library, we have Daisy UI for UI components. We have, let me think for a second, the client. Let's go for the client first. The client is using an SQLite database, which handles all the data stuff. Everything's saved to the SQLite database, all the metadata, all the nodes, every JSON bit that we need, every attribute that's important. And then we have access to the file system where just the normal files and thumbnails are saved. That's kind of it. Then there is Capacitor, for example, as the mobile client, which renders like the entire website in a web view, but allows a bridge to talk to native code. And this bridge to native code then has the Rust part, where the Rust part actually handles, let me think, it handles everything with CRDT editing, basically. I can do that on the web, and it does happen on the web for all the live things, because the stuff needs to change in the UI instantly. But everything that's background sync is happening there because it's like 100 times faster. It's insane. It's really great. And yeah, I think that's all for the client. I mean, the other thing is then Electron, and on Android, it's the same Capacitor kind of thing. Electron also has this native module in Rust. And I just used that because the CRDT implementation in Rust is more mature than the Golang implementation, because I technically like Golang more. I'm not a big fan of Rust. I think it's nice and all, but I prefer Go in every way. So the server, on the other hand, has two parts. It has, actually, it's three parts. You first have the backend database, which is just Postgres. I do have a plugin installed for ULIDs because I like them way more than using UUIDs. They're much more readable. They're sorted by date, so you can actually see on the ID when something was created, which is a nice backup for metadata. Irrelevant of like the file creation date, of course. And then we have a backend in Golang, which handles all the file interactions. It's really fast because Go is kind of nice with that as well. And then we have a node part, which handles all the live sync with WebSockets. The Golang part will likely grow a bit more in size because I kind of want to move some things I implemented in Node, move over to Rust, to Go, because it's a bit faster. But anyways, that's kind of the entire thing. It then hosts like a small front end. So if your local server, for example, is visible there, it can render like small interfaces for navigating through how, like, what your public key is, what your private key, no, the private key is hidden, of course, but the name of the server, if all the services are actually running, there's like status pages and stuff like that. But that's, I think, the shortest breakdown I can do of the entire stack. And we get a follow on Twitch, nice. And also another message, because the YouTube chat is really active currently. You probably have answered already before, but how do you think Heaper compares to Tag Studio? I think the easiest way to say is Heaper is a bit more focused on note-taking and not just files, where Tag Studio actually tries to be more like a file manager. And the other main difference is that Heaper is kind of based on a server-based system. So you host it yourself on a NAS instead of running the main application on your PC. That's like the two main differences. I really like the Tag Studio project, and I'll see how that goes on in the near future as well. But the main thing is I couldn't use it for my use case because I want something where I have like access to my 4 terabytes of files on my NAS on the go on my phone, just with preview images without having to carry this entire library. Phones don't even come with that much storage space. So that's like the entire thing. And thank you for the next follow. Let me see, Neri Dank Linux DMS for a potential HelpSoft replacement. I'll need to check that as well. Then there's some removed messages. The EU Incorporated is worked on streamlined oh yeah, I've seen that. They want to make that a bit simpler. I just don't think that they will succeed. We'll see. I'll not do any guesswork with that. So is Heaper supposed to be a replacement for a file manager or note-taking app like Obsidian or Notion? Or is it meant to be used in conjunction, similar to cloud provider but self-hosted? It is a replacement. Like for me, I started it before Obsidian was there and before Notion was there. So it always was what I needed that Notion tried to fill. And Notion is a really nice app, by the way. I still like it. I just cannot stand that all my data goes through to American servers and yeah, is just there. And with no way for me to actually make sure things are offline, for example. I mentioned in the video that how Notion handles offline sync. They use something similar to CRDTs for sure. But the interesting part with that is they need to lock that so that you need to specify that by yourself to actually use this offline. I'm not sure why. I think they do compactions on the CRDTs, which break the sync status, and they do that more frequently to make things more performant. But I would not suggest that that's the best way to handle things. I would just suppose that should be cached in a better way then. But I want things to work offline. I want them to work on the go. I want them to work on all my devices. And especially I need something that is a bit more focused on file management. So I don't even compare just the two, Notion and Obsidian. I kind of compare it to Notion, Obsidian, and Tag Studio, because that's like kind of where I aim to be, like between those. I want the tag management. I want the app to basically work as a client device to my server. So I have everything at my house and there's nothing somewhere else. I can just have everything on my RAID setup with backups scheduled with, I hope at some point we have automatic RESTIC backups to other Heaper instances of your friends where you can just plug in a drive and then have an offsite backup scheduled in encrypted. So all these things run seamlessly and AnyType. So my brother is actually using AnyType. I tried AnyType, it didn't work out for me that well. I do like the concept a lot. It's just too far into this whole end-to-end encryption approach where instead of actually helping you that much, it's built for like this cloud environment where you don't trust the server. And that means you don't get to have an open server. And I kind of like the open servers that all my files live on my device and just are there and aren't encrypted on disk there. I can go through them with my file manager. And also, which I still think is kind of funny to say, neither Obsidian, Notion, or AnyType do proper file management. Like they all are things that, like what I did here, for example. This is like the old version of Heaper where I just go through things, have tags and mentions on things off this file board, all my pictures, and they're connected together. So I can actually have all of these in one view and I can browse through them like a file manager. That shouldn't be weird. Why aren't there any things that actually give me a grid view of things? It seems a bit confusing and I want these to actually feel really nice. And where's the other thing? Here. And I want to have bulk actions where I can just drag things and say, oh, let's tag these with robots. The automatic suggestion thing here is still in the works. I'm checking on things for better indexing with maybe embedding models. So your server actually does the embedding profiles of your images. So you can search by what's on the image or what's in the text semantically. But these things are a bit more advanced and right now the models are still evolving quite fast. And I want this to be performant enough to actually work on something simple. Oh, another follow. What's going on here? I also need to kind of have the alerts a bit more prominent, I guess, but you will see them. That's kind of nice. I really enjoy using whiteboards like TLDraw and XColorDraw in those directly. Exactly. So the... I was thinking of, for a long time actually, of building my own TLDraw, but TLDraw already is that, but it's so pricey. If I, as a developer, want to implement that in my app, they want like 5K a year as license fee. And like, I can't do that right now. I don't have that just for like a small drawing app in Heaper. Thanks for another follow. But how do you all have names that I can't really pronounce? Amazing. But I'm bad with that anyway, so sorry if I not try. Though the main part with, where was I even? TL Draw. I think I'll implement something like this either in this view, because there's app views. I didn't show these yet. So this is like the first view I have. It's a media view. Let's create another view. Now we go to this new view and we switch the app to, for example, tasks. Now in the heap, it does behave a bit differently because only things actually tagged with the heap show up, just as a thing, so not clutter the entire thing for you. That works in others a bit more differently. Now we have like a task manager thing. Let's imagine I want to check this one and mark this as like start. Now I can go to this thing. What did happen? We set a done and an important tag on that task list on the keyboard actually. So it just uses all the tags for all these actual checkboxes. And that's kind of what these data properties would do in Obsidian, and where you could save states into. I want to do that with tags. These are like flags that you can set on things, because then you can use these to browse again. Now everything in the important thing shows all the parts that are important, which means you can use it in all sorts of things. For example, if I go to important and then scope it by tapping tab, I get the keyboard thing here. It makes things really easy to search through again. OMG, thank you. Not having tools for bulk actions are one of the things that makes me current iteration of Tag Studio unusable. They don't have bulk actions. I'm not fully sure if that's really the case there, but let's suppose I have these selected. Now I have some with keyboard. Let's just select a few more and add a new tag and say just new tag. If I add a new tag to it, now we have these common tags here. Let me select a few more things. Now it shows that 5 out of 6 tags and 4 out of 6 tags have these tags, while this one is just mentioned with keyboard instead of tagged. Good to know. So what we can do is, of course, convert to tag, and now all these are in common tags. We have the different tags up here, where we have only 4 from 6, and I can either remove them and they're now not tagged, or if I type that new thing again, have them on here. This makes actually managing more things kind of useful. Is it possible to build some kind of reports, queries, and dashboards? It depends. Right now, we don't have any visualization things in the rich text editor for that. We have some things in this list, but tables, columns, files, images, you can embed these things. But I want to work on a few more, like the last video of CyanVoxel with the habit tracking thing. That's kind of the first thing that I would like to do, because currently I basically do my daily notes in here. And if I click something, it creates the note for that. You get like the small dot down here. But I would like to log things. For example, when was I on a walk? I would like to track how many times a week do I do a walk with my brother, for example, just to see like how do my activity levels behave and do I do that frequently enough for simple habit tracking. I just tag the daily note with a tag called, for example, I can just do, yeah, taking a walk. Do you say that? I think it's like that. And it doesn't matter if you add it down here or in the text, all work kind of the same way. And with that in there, I could then have, let's say I call this daily note as a tag, of course, and go into the daily notes. I can then filter here for filter settings where I say, okay, you need to have the tag taking a walk. And if I just press save, now this thing works. But if I do another one here and say again, daily note, of course it now jumps over. Didn't know why that happened. Also, we get like small previews on the side. We add daily note to this, and now this filtered view still only shows us the one where we were taking a walk. So we can, with this stuff here, create custom filtered views that are kind of simple to do just with using the tags. just as written easy, but you would be amazed how our government has already, oh my god, yeah, that's the fun thing. Can the calendar also store events? Upcoming ones? You mean, so the problem is the calendar is currently using just blocks. These are kind of like just nodes with a date, like in Obsidian. And I think this is a really clever approach. I like that part because you can have time things like a quarter or something. You can have it for the month or the full year and all these parts. You could even have them for the decade if you want to do that. But in general, I like this approach to having the normal nodes be dated. But I think for real events, you need to have attributes. That's why in the upcoming features list, there is the attributes part, which basically is, okay, let me give you a teaser for how this stuff will work. Imagine you have things like, let me think, event. Would I do it like that? Event time or something? So if I create event time, in the approach that I want to do, I would then press something like colon to have this not only as a link to that, but also assign a property to it. And then this event time would be not only, because I like the idea of having everything as a block, that thing would define that when it is attached as a link and provided an attribute, what type it actually has. And this way you build like dynamic tables. It's kind of like Notion databases, but you don't need to have them in one database. I want to have, that's kind of the goal I had in the starter with Heaper. I want you to intersect different tables with different data things, but you can mix and match attributes that you reuse on multiple ones. So you can have two tables with different entries, but they share like one column, for example. And then you can go to the event time thing, for example, which shows you everything that is tagged with it, which also means for attributes, it shows you everything that has a value with this type. I kind of like that approach. It might be a bit complicated right now, but that's the vision there at least. I have a few more things on how tags would connect to another, so you can do fancy things, and that's not something normally people will likely use, but I like to have things where I can tag an image and say, hey, that's a picture of me and my brother, and we're next to another. It's not a picture where we're somewhere on the picture, but that's like these pictures where these are the tags, me and my brother, the tags that we use, are linked with a relation type of next to another. This way I can send my grandma a picture album without having to sift through all the pictures where we might be on the same screen. I'm speaking a little imprecisely. It's just really limited, slow, and a bit buggy in Tech Studio, as far as I've noticed. The last release is all... Yeah, okay. I noticed that. There's a lot going on, and I think that's like my main concern with Tech Studio. The stack it is built in kind of slows it down quite a bit. The whole Python thing is nice to start things with, but once you have something running, it gets kind of complicated. And like the distribution part, and I'm not a big fan of that, especially with the UI frameworks and everything. I'm really liking web frameworks with all the features they give you, because you can do fancy things then. You can do blur effects behind components. You can have things you can drag and have animations going on. I actually even have like a small quick view thing here, so you can actually quickly view things, have like grid view and like a small, this thing isn't like perfect yet, but at least you can view things without going into these nodes beforehand. And then you're, okay, I'm fine. Let me tag these, but you can also check your selection in here and then like deselect this one or that one if you want to kind of make sure that what you are tagging now is actually the right stuff. Because to me, it happens way more than I hope it would when I am in my iPhone photo library and like put things into albums to sort them actually away. Then every single time I have things selected that I forgot that I might not fit this album or something, and I need to scroll back up to find them. I think Apple now added something where they have like a bar at the top which shows the selected pictures or something, but I think it doesn't show up all the time. Let me see. Can you demonstrate how Heaper works with or displays other file types like PDF, doc, MP4? I've never used any like Heaper or Tag Studio, so it's new to me. Good question, actually. Let me take a look. Is the stream actually working with that? It is. I might need... Let me find a demo file. Which one can we use? Let me check the PC properly. Because I'm still in the middle of the stage where I need to kind of look through all my stuff and make it streamable, because I have like so many open working project files and I just don't want to have like some keys leaking through or something like that. You might understand that. Let me see. I will use, is that a good one? Oh yeah, let's use that one. Then we create like a documents folder for testing Heaper. Let's put that in there. Let's move that screenshot in there too. Do we have PDFs or something? I think we don't. I think I don't have PDFs that I can show, but there currently, I think there is not a PDF viewer built in right now, but I think I'll find something that I can show you there. 1 second. Let's use next day. Yeah, that's perfect actually. No, wait. My dog, I put it in the wrong folder. This is the largest folder I have. And I put it somewhere. Okay, wait. This should be there. Found it. Okay. So let's just say you have this thing here, PC. You can then, if you want to enter something into Heaper, oh, actually, let me see if you have some other things in the chat before that. Or even a hidden locked heap. Yes, kind of. There's different things. Currently, you can toggle like the heap selector from here. They aren't lockable yet, but the goal for me right now is more like making it work for stream content. So you have the option to have global filters. You can just say everything with that tag and everything that is tagged with it, like tags have hierarchies. Basically, that means if you tag something with something, like a private tag, for example, and then you have another file and that has content that is tagged with it, that means that content is kind of the same properties as the parent part, which means if that is private, these subparts should also be private, which means you don't need to tag every single bit with a private tag. They can be tags of the thing that is tagged with private. And if you add them in here, it basically excludes them from everything, from all searches, from all sidebar things, from the display in the grid, from links, everything. It doesn't even load them if you force it to. So that's kind of nice. So I can have some nodes that are kind of private info that I can still show the entire thing on stream. I haven't done that properly enough yet. That's why I don't show my actual heap right now, but that's the plan for that. Like relations for attributes. Exactly. That's the whole idea there. Is it similar to SQL querying? Right now, we don't do any, like you don't get to touch queries in here. Here you get just intersections of tags, basically. That's how you filter things, just by tags. And this will be expanded to attributes once attributes are there. With attributes being in place, you can also search likely for things in the content or in the title or in metadata fields, but I'll postpone that part until then. So right now there isn't even a way to filter by videos, for example. And now to answer the nice question here, let me drop in a file. So now the movie is getting run through the Rust core part where it generates preview images for every frame of the video, basically. Let's see if that actually works, because I love live demos. They mostly break. I just add something in here now. And we have a video. Let me see, did that? Okay, the video previews are not loading. Might that be because that is right now like a local? Let me check that for a second. Let me check some, like I even added like some advanced inspectors in here, but it seems we didn't generate the previews properly, which is why they don't show up here. I might need to check that, or if that's like a problem with my video file. But preview generation is like one of the big topics. That's why Tag Studio does actually quite a lot, because they have so many preview thumbnail generators. Cyan is currently in specification hell. Yeah. Do you actually have a graph view? I have one. It's just not allowed to use yet. I have it blacklisted just because I want this to work for libraries of up to 100,000 entries. And right now the typical rendering library works fine up to like 15,000. The problem is after that, if I use a library that works much faster with WebGL and stuff like that, it looks so bad. So I'm not quite happy with that yet. I would love to have something that's a bit more nice looking, like the Obsidian graph that we have there. But it does exist. It would be, let me actually go there. See, right now the video isn't loading yet. Or is it? Let me see. Nah, that's not working yet. So in the end, there will be, this is the app switcher. Here in that list, there would be another view kind of thing where you not only get like the list view of things, but the like nodes or Kanban boards and things. But for now, I would love some feedback on the UI, because I think it's not as intuitive as it should be. I likely would need the global filters to be inside the normal filters. All these other boxes of like changing views, changing view types, having settings on the views, like zooming out all the way. And yeah, it does work quite far. You can have them quite tiny and actually still be able to use this with like 100 items selected, even on a phone. It's not crazy fast. This is kind of the limit I can stretch it to before getting too slow, but I thought enabling that might be nice. And then we have like the vertical one. I even have a horizontal one, which basically makes it scroll this other way. I know most people won't use that, but I think it's kind of cool if you have more things that are on a wider aspect ratio than on a taller one. And why not? If I can do that, why not? Let's see. They really want to flesh out that so people can start build Rust ports of it. Oh, so they're actually building the specifications so they can make more versions in a better way, in a more testable way. I think that is a smart move. But aren't like the preview generators, which basically are the entire, like that's such a big part of that project, aren't they all in Python? Don't they need to rebuild all of those again then? Maybe I should like figure out a way where we can get like a library to make the, because that would be so great if Cyan could make the thumbnail generation part like an open library. That would be so useful. I would love to use something like that, but otherwise I likely need to build my own. So essentially this is supposed to replace the file system of any OS. Not the entire file system. It is basically layered on top. So if you now want to use an image file, for example, let's say I would like to 3D model something and I think this kind of thing here looks nice. Then I would still open the local file, either open it with preview that opens like just the file there, or show it in Finder and use that file in whatever tool I would use to edit it then. I likely copy that over because I don't want to modify the actual files here, but this is basically if I would use it in a video editing project, which is kind of my use case, because I can have like the pictures of me where I have like things with, this is like shocked Jan face and whatever for for preview thumbnails for the YouTube videos. Then I can sort these away with that thing and then still link the original file there into my project, because otherwise I'm not sure if any of you are deep into video editing, but it's so annoying if you move like a folder around and your project references are all broken and you need to relink the files. I hate that. It's so annoying. And with this thing here, because they have the hash of the file as the folder name, you basically don't move them ever, even if you rename them, even if you put them in different tags, if you do some other sorting, and you can continue to use them in your project. Because with my DaVinci Resolve B-roll files and other media that I do, these are surprisingly complicated to actually sort. I basically put all of them in one folder, and that one folder gets really cluttered, and I have no way of sorting them after I drag them into the project because it would break all the links. And that's where Heaper comes in, basically. So you basically still do things like the repository and coding stuff, or things you actually work on a lot on a separate place. But this is your, like, a thing, not quite Dropbox, more like a Google Cloud Drive thing that you would use in a web browser, where you drag like a finished piece of thing in that you want to sync to another device. But not in the sense you just want to get it to another device, more in a sense you want to get it to your own server and make sure it's actually backed up. Because the backing up part is, I think, the most important part. Okay, that's a really fun story though. So I got a new Android phone and I'm quite happy with that. It's the Fold 7, but guess what Google Photos did automatically? It automatically turned on photo backup to the cloud. It filled up my complete phone storage, like the 15 gigabytes. I don't have a plan on Google Cloud because I use my tool for that. Why would I need that? Turns out it synced all my files there. It wasn't much, but it was enough to fill the 15 gigabyte limit. And then I just thought, okay, sure, but I can just remove that again and like delete them from the Google Cloud, right? No. You cannot. You can delete them from the Google Cloud, but only if you can only delete them if you also delete them from your local file system. What is that? So I needed to basically put them into Heaper, move them to the cloud thing in my server, then be sure that they're backed up, then wipe all the photos on my local system so that they're also removed from the Google Cloud. Insane. They want to lock you in so hard. I hate that. It's so bad. Oh, Z Diesel, hi. Multiple open projects. I have no idea how that feels like. Azurio also here, nice. Also, the FreeSync is not full Ref 7 Cinema. Wait, what? Are you talking about the 3D rendering thing? FreeSync is not... I'm not fully sure. Really interesting though, and nice to see you back. Let me check and catch up on here. Does Heaper support keyboard shortcuts, for example, escape for going back? I wish it would do that. I think going back currently is handled by this button in this bottom corner. And actually, let me zoom back in. This is really confusing otherwise. It does have a few shortcuts. It has Command B to open and close the bottom sheet. It has, where did I put the sheet for the hotkeys even? Command K for the search. I need to write all of those down. Key shortcuts guide. The problem with that is right now, the shortcut button where I had a help symbol that I put like right down here or there, and that was used to show all the system shortcuts. The problem is I then moved this toolbar down there and needed to get it out of the way. So I removed it temporarily and totally forgot about it. Good point. I do have that panel, but it's just not, there's no button right now. Going back, I think going back has a shortcut, but I'll look that up. The escape to go back, I'm not fully sure if that's a good idea, because if you select something and press escape, that gets you out of the selection mode. And I think that kind of should, but then you go back after the selection is canceled, maybe. The free sync on Google. Oh, the free sync on Google. Oh yeah, it's not full res. That's even worse. Alt left arrow. I like that. Alt plus left arrow. And that's despicable. Exactly. I hate Google so much. Exactly. And that's not even the first time it happened to me. I had that once before and I didn't learn from it because of course, after being only on iOS for a while again and then switching back to Android, or like I'm using both devices now, I totally forgot that these things exist where they basically scam you into trying their product and not leaving. Not sure why that's the case. On that note, I need to rant a bit more. Microsoft To Do has the same issue. You cannot export your tasks there. I don't even use that, but I tried to export the to-dos for my dad. He's using that as his task management app. And do you think you're able to actually get an export out? You can request a data export via their web panel, and you need to wait like 6 weeks. I thought we could switch over, import them into Heaper, so he's settled with that one. But he needed to wait for 6 weeks. So all the tasks in those 6 weeks are not in there. Then he gets a zip file to download. I'm almost done, but he gets a zip file to download. And what is in there? It's a mailbox style layout for basically all the files in plain text with no delimiters that are usable in like a tabular kind of way where all the dates and things are just scattered across. And it took me a while. I wrote a full blog article on how to get the data out of there and wrote a script for that in Golang just to be able to parse that and get that into a JSON format. That took me like a full weekend, but insanity. It's all CSV based, not on the exports. The exports are actually, I do have the files somewhere. I'll show that around then. But the problem with Microsoft To Do is you don't export the Microsoft To Do thing. You need to go into your, what is the thing for email for them? They have this email tool, and that's a subpart of Outlook. Yeah. No one takes offense at ranting about it. Yeah. If Obsidian is your second brain, Heaper is your second, that one drawer you throw everything into and always find it. Yeah. And for me, I also, like, I don't use Obsidian anymore. I recently I tried to use Obsidian again and think like, hey, I could learn a bit on how Obsidian actually works. And if I miss anything, because I've been so long just on Heaper, I've been using this tool since I built it, and it's been kind of working since like 8 years. So all that time I had my full rich text editor and all that stuff. The thing though is, on Obsidian, I always get to points where I'm like, why on earth can I not do that? And one of the examples is that a local data loading bug? Interesting. Haven't seen that in a while. You cannot do tags in the title. Because of course you can't put like weird symbols in the file name, but I didn't know that's a restriction, or that they can't be too long. I want to have my titles as long as I want to. Or the weirdest part, you cannot sort the sidebar, but okay. I don't want to rant too much about Obsidian because I kind of like it. It's nice. It's just not what I was looking for. I get, now the comments are coming in. Never ever say anything against Obsidian again. I know. That's all of it. I just needed that one moment. Again, look at that repo. It's oh yeah, let me actually. Yeah, I've noted that. Oh, you mentioned it because I have likely had the file open here. Oh no, that's not the file. I didn't save that in here yet. Fair enough. So I do have a few other nice things. So this is the graph view that I was using last year. It's still the same one. I still have that implemented here. I just moved it from the cloud implementation to the local one. And this is for one of the drives I was sorting through. So the interesting part here was that you basically get this heap of stuff, which I know I didn't show it on the video because I didn't want to tease like a graph view that I haven't completely finished yet. But you basically get this big blob of data, and every time you sort something away, some line appears. and it's moving it out of this big chunk into one of these smaller chunks. And it's so satisfying that you can this way sort through like really big libraries and see your progress. You can see it from like a top level view. You look up, like you look down onto all the files that you have, and like on a plane perspective, it's really cool. I really like that part. Even it's a bit cooler than just having things disappear from the heap list, but it's just very satisfying. So does Heaper only have access to the objects you dragged into it, meaning I can be selective with what Heaper has access to rather than it having access to the file system like a classic file manager? Yes, exactly. You only import what you want, and you can put multiple heaps up, so you can put them into different buckets basically. The heaps shouldn't intersect. I had plans for that, maybe it's coming. To interlink heaps together, because there's a cross vault linking in Obsidian too, and there might be occasions where that's cool, but I think the main aspect is to keep things isolated from another, so exactly the opposite of that. But overall, let me think, what was that? Like, you don't have everything in there, you just put the things you actually want to sort in there. And even if you use it from the server side, where the Heaper ignore checks if things match like paths like .ds store or these hidden files that you don't want to have indexed. But you can also have like, I don't want to give code examples because people would get into the idea of putting their code files there, and that's not what it's for. But you can put your pictures in there in a separate folder, and it just scans that folder on the server and then syncs it into your heap. So you basically have, I would imagine it as like a separate documents folder you have where all your stuff is in, and it's in a slightly different format because let me actually just show you this with this one. These are also the indicators of, is it synced? It's not. It's for pending while we are local only. It's not pinned, so cache control could clear it if you are running low on storage space. If you pin it, it downloads it to your device and keeps it offline. And right now we have no cloud connected, so it's not in the cloud right now. Web dev. Right. I wanted to use WebDAV to mount a folder system that has virtual folders, so I don't need to use symlinks. I just explore the file space through Heaper structure from the database and show it as a real file system. And I liked that idea so much until I tried something with WebDAV, and just wasn't fun. Maybe it's because it's using XML things and but I kind of like a good developer experience, and WebDAV, even like I need to re-implement the entire file browser and all the calls to it, because otherwise there's only wrappers for it that actually look into a folder, not things that let you, hey, now look into the database and stream that file or something like that. I think now the AI models might be good enough that you could build something of a good like framework for it for yourself, but back when I started this, that wasn't working at all. How would I format URLs correctly in the node editor? URLs in the node editor. Let me see. If I would put like what is it? If I do like Google, does it autocomplete right now? https://google.com. This doesn't do anything. I think you have to use something like that, and then you can change like the visible thing to Google and just say, hey, this is the link here. So it's like a rich text editor like you would be used to, and then you open it and it opens like in another browser, for example. I kind of want to make this not like when you click it, open the browser. I want it to show kind of like I did the mentions if I do like keyboards. Then this thing, if you hover it, it shows like a preview of it. And if you click it, you get the go to block, link to paragraph. Oh, right. I didn't show that. Like you can rename this to be like, did I break that? I think I broke that. Let me see why that is. Let me see if that was the problem. Oh no. If I'm at the start of the line, I can rename it. So let's do keyboards page, for example. I can have a custom name in here, but now if I go to this block and oops, that's one of these too many. Let's close this one and let's do like a headline test here and another. Oh no, I didn't. That's like when I'm streaming, I'm always typing the wrong thing. So if I'm now going back onto the keyboard page thing, I can do like link to paragraph here and say, oh, get me the headline another. And oh, I think it did. This is just an old version, but the newer one doesn't show the sublinks if you are having a custom name. But you can then go to that page and it highlights where that link was coming from. So you can actually link into specific pieces of your content and stuff like that. URL preview from SEO meta tags. That would be really great, but I want to build a web clipper anyways. So it's a hidden function. I would like to have a web clipper where you can on the browser just press a button and it captures the web page or the most important media of it or stuff like that. So you can easily grab things and store them in Heaper. Problem with that approach is Heaper is a bit more multidimensional, I would say. So I could take a website screenshot and put it in Heaper as a file. I could also store the entire web clippers are basically things that, for example, Evernote or bookmarking tools like Raindrop use, where you can on a web page just press a button and it saves that to a watch later list or read later list. And most web clippers are a bit more advanced, so you can select parts of the page and things like that. Some even allow you to do things like extracting the text content of an article, so in case it gets taken down, you still have a copy of that one. That's kind of nice. I really like that feature. And yeah, web clippers, of course, are kind of nice if you browse for inspirational pictures, if you design keyboards or something, and you just want to pick a few pictures together. And Eagle has the best web clipper I've seen. It's really cool, and it imports them so nice. I do think like visually I would like to get a bit more into their direction because I love their tool, but it just doesn't help me. It's not built for the, how the heck did the top viewers thing work out? I need to moderate this. Okay, perfect. And oh no, the overlay is broken now. Give me 1 second. That's like the thing with Twitch. Maybe I'll just do that in a different way soon, because Twitch doesn't have many chat messages right now, but sometimes there's spam, and the spam detection isn't as good as on Google. So yeah, well, YAWC, I'm not fully sure what that is, but yeah, the web clippers are really neat, and I would like that data to be properly saved into Heaper so I can have these as objects, because the whole thing is that now with tags and everything, you should give them a type. It's not just a folder, you give things a type, and then once attributes come in, you can actually save things like URL and other parameters properly or full JSON objects. And then things get really interesting because you can have like full text search or semantic search on these things, on web clipper parts, more multidimensional data. But that's like all future stuff. I'm trying to get the basics working very, very well before going into any of that. But that's like why I'm doing these things. I really would like to work with that. And having pictures and all these things saved locally and then across your devices and everything seems like a really nice way of handling these things. So then you get the preview of your cached browser preview and can maybe read that in your e-reader thing or something. And I think that would make much more sense for URL links. And maybe there's something, if you type in a URL or paste a URL, it does that automatically and saves it not as a URL, but as a, how do you say that? As a relation to a block, so that the downloaded page is actually a full block. But for that, I would need to modify the apps a bit to allow viewers to be a bit more precise. Actually, I think I didn't even show that yet. I didn't show that this is like not only showing the picture, this is like a full viewer app. And I've took great care to make this in a way that you can actually zoom this in seamlessly, because that is so nice on phones. You can like rotate and touch type everything there so that you can have your phone screen filling with a preview of it. It just makes browsing through photos so much more fun. And then right now, all these things don't show the actual full res image. It just shows the large preview that's generated. So like if I click this, this is the original, and it does look kind of the same. I think for the image I downloaded here, this is a 64 kilobyte. Oh, this is really tiny. But let's see if the other things are smaller. Yeah, the image preview for, even though it's the same size, it's still like, what is it? A sixth of it smaller, like 64 to 50. That's how you save a bit of space on all these things. Let me see. I'm into Karakeep. Let me also write that down. Very good, because the apps that you always recommend here on stream or in like chats with me, that's so nice, because these are actually the apps that I mostly look for. And if I ask just random people, that doesn't help me much. But if you see what I'm working on and say, hey, I use this app for that kind of piece, that's always the best. Very nice. What about, oh no, there. Hi, thanks for the project. A lot of people are interested, which is cool. I love that people are interested in this. It also makes this way more satisfying for me, because I basically saved this release for so long just because I spent like all this time just trying to make it explainable. Imagine having no Notion, no Obsidian, and basically no Tag Studio, and then trying to explain someone what we're building here in a decentralized way with self-hosting. You can get really confusing really quickly just because you're not sure where to focus on. So I try to focus on the how to save things and how to actually sort them, instead of going all the technical routes, though I really love talking technical about this. What about integrations into other tools, especially Karakeep? I don't know Karakeep too well, so I need to look up what this is actually for. I think about it, which isn't for media, but especially for web content. So if it's something similar to Raindrop, for example, then yeah, integrations are one of the strong points of this whole system, because you have your own server and your server can run these integrations. You're not reliant on things that have hooks to call into cloud services. You can proactively query things, like the whole stuff with, I mean, you might most likely have heard of OpenClaw and things like that, even though kind of doesn't really work well, but they do things on their own. You could do these things with Heaper and just push it to the Heaper API to your server, how much you want, whatever you want. It can resort things. You can do whatever you like. And so that way you can basically build whatever tools you want, even without it needing to be a real Heaper plugin, because it's an API. Everything in Heaper is running through an API, and you can get an API token for your own server and then just play with it. That's like the cool part. I didn't show the web viewer. Yeah, exactly. Let me see. Yet another web clipper. Oh, that's what's the YAWC. Ah, I get it. Took me way too long then. The unlinked view feels like a root view to me, but pinned items are missing from it somehow. Yes, exactly. So this is exactly intentional. So the root view would be the pinned. These are the things that appear in your sidebar. That's like the highest level order you have, because everything that is not pinned and not sorted away is like your stuff that is in deep subfolders, basically. The unlinked view basically shows everything that has no belonging. Like you need to put some tags on it to put them away. And the sorted view is like the inverse of that. That's everything that has content to browse. So I think it makes a lot of sense. You might need to get used to it a little bit, because usually you don't get like a view twice. You don't get the pinned view in here and in here, but I want you to be able to do these things with different kinds of like content sizes and everything, and you can set them as different views in here, and all these settings are saved to the view, which basically means you can have custom views with different filters and things like that to actually make the most out of your experience. And it loads the first view, like that's why it has the default one, and you can like, yeah, I can drag it around to set the default one to something else. And this way, pinned is like your root level view, and unlinked isn't the root view, so to say. It's the inbox, I would say. It's like the stuff you could sort away somewhere. And if you have good top level tags and everything in unlinked is linked to something else, then you have basically what you have on your disk on normal folders, but in a more multi-dimensional way, where you can have multiple places for the things that are in tags usually. Keep is kind of like Heaper, but for website snapshots, PDF, HTML image viewers, to archive locally, to upload web archive with AI-based tagging and pretty good search. Oh, so it's a web-based tool likely. Yeah, that does make sense. At least I think it is. I can't imagine they did that in a local app. I'm curious to use Heaper to write alt text descriptions of my images and let mentions connect the pictures instead of using specific text. That's so good. I might need to write that down actually. Like this is exactly what I would hope people do, because now you can do things like, I don't know, let me see here this thing. It looks kind of like the butterfly, or what is it called? The dragonfly things from Dune or something. It reminds me of that. So I say like, okay, at Dune, I say a dragon, wait, what is it? Dragonfly craft. And now I have something where if I do like fly, I can, oh yeah, dragonfly, I find that thing again. I might need to split the word. I'm not sure. Should that find it if I type fly? I mean, it's a partial match. I might need to tweak the FTS5 for that a bit. It's a database layer thing, so I kind of have some limitations for the full text search, but they are expected. And I can also have then like my Dune block where all this is tagged to. It's so nice to browse it this way, actually. And let me actually copy this and put that in the stream notes. I'm not fully sure why every time I copy something, like every editor from the web seems to put, but it's only happening on Mac for me, put like coloring of text behind it. How are the different view filters supposed to be used? Which one would I use if I only wanted them to show up once? In case they are tagged, I'd ideally show its parent. Wait a second. View filters supposed to be huge. Which one would I use if I only wanted them to show up once? Show up once? They only show up once. Or do you mean like, I mean, things are actually the most deduplicated as they could be. So I'm not quite sure what you mean there. If you could follow up on that, that would be great. How are the, that's the same message. Or maybe I'm just trying to recreate folders. That could be. We're really deep in how folders work. And the problem for me is I need to explain that from the perspective of someone who hasn't done it that way for like 15 years. I basically tried this whole linking approach very long now for all the stuff that's important to me. And I can't go back. It's so good. I just hope to make it stable enough that, not stable is the wrong word. I need to find ways that explain it without the need that you're already used to it. Like for me, it's very natural to have all the linking parts together and just say, oh, I put a tag down there, and you won't believe how easily it is possible to find things again with that. Because you can just write down things on the note. Usually I don't even type things, especially on phones or something. If I do something like this, I'm like phone nightstand with nice wood texture, and then I have something to find it again, and I'm done. That's how I annotate things in a really easy way. Hi, Jan, sounds really nice and I would like to use Heaper. Do you know about Eagle? Yes, we already talked about it. It's an organizer for pictures. You can tag your images and kind of sounds like Heaper just for images. Yes, but one difference in Eagle is still how tags work. I don't want tags to just be strings. So if I had like, let me imagine, what did I want to do? That's the wrong thing. That's the right thing. If I have a tag 1 here, and it is just this string, I kind of don't want that. I want this to be able to be a good index page of something. So if I do something with tag 1 and I create it as a block, I have the possibility to now not only browse content from here like tags usually can, but I can also create a map of content at the top, which says this tag is about all the things I want to write down about tag 1. And someone can then much more easily browse what this thing is even about. And if you want to go one step further, you can do things like, do I have these for files? Yes, just for files. Oh yeah, I could do like image and do the dragonfly thing and have that in my content here. I can have things in there that link to other pieces, and I don't need to have the full folder do that. I can just do that from here. And so sometimes it's easy to have like they're called maps of content in the PKM world, to have a good kind of index, which usually would be like the index file in your folder. And that's how I did it in Obsidian all the time. But it is so like counterintuitive if you can't put things onto the folder. Assuming that was meant pin to top, not the sidebar. Technically, it's not pinned to the sidebar. It is. Oh, now I see. That I get it. I get it. So like another problem, I have this pin thing here that's also very confusing because it's the same pin icon as here. This pin icon doesn't pin the current block. It keeps the bar, like this page here, pinned wherever it is so it doesn't move. So if you browse through things, it doesn't change the layout if you go through a lot of blocks and just want to navigate. I kind of would like to show this a bit more, but otherwise, if you open blocks that have text, it shows the text and no content. If you go back to your heap, it shows the heap. It's like kind of a bit intelligent there. But having things like if I would pin these, they don't pin to the top, though that I like that idea, and that will be included once I add the things like sorting, because I did something nice. I did efficient sort implementations with string-based indexing for every view, which basically means, oh wow, I need to show you something. Cat, has been a while since you were on camera. But the pinning to top as sorting works kind of the same way there. You create sort indexes for these then, and they will be sorted to the top, and then you can arrange them around other things. I still need to check how I want to have that from the UI perspective, but having things pinned to the start would make sense for browsing, as well as being able to just like long drag and move them here or something. I'm not fully sure. I'll figure something out for all of that. I suggest calling it tagged and untagged. I think people are more likely to associate sorting with sorting order. Let me see, like the sorted. Oh, yeah, I felt like these are called like sorted away because tagged is not the right word for that. The sorted view doesn't show everything that is tagged. It shows the blocks that have things. It shows basically the parent containers of everything that has a tag. It's a bit confusing to explain that. It's also nice cat, kitty. Yeah, she's really nice. Though, and very fluffy. It has been a while since she jumped into my videos though. The last one is like 3 years ago or something like that. Yeah, so sorted kind of still feels right, but I need like a better word for it to make sure you know that it's like the containers that have content to browse, but we'll figure something out. I'll just write that down on the to-do list. Sorted. Very good. I'll definitely try Heaper. That is really ornithopters. That's the word that I was looking for. Let's see. Oh wait, Keep is self-hosted? That is really nice then. I didn't know that. Okay. What about automatic file conversion pics to JPEG XL? A JPEG XL was very controversial while I wrote Heaper. So they just added support back into Chrome, and that's why I went with WebP. All of these images are converted to WebP and WebM for videos. Actually, I don't do video shortcuts right now anymore, so no, just WebM. But that is actually really good at compression. It's insane how much it can compress things. Like even this picture, it is, I don't know, not that much smaller actually. Well, it's kind of a bit, but still half the size for something like that. I love it. It's so great. Especially the tiny ones are insanely small and you get a lot of detail. The grid even, let me show that too. Let me go back to the all view. Depending on the size you have of the zoom level, it loads the proper size of thumbnail so that it uses like the smaller ones down here, and that's how it can load like the tiny things. But if you zoom in all the way, you get like the larger preview. That's kind of nice. Let me see. Definitely I'll try Heaper. That's really nice. I'll still, like everybody who tries that, please leave some feedback either via email or even as a YouTube comment or just on the Discord server. I would be so glad to hear how you use it, how you think it could evolve, what things you're looking for in it, all that stuff basically. And oh, one more feature, like, what the heck? Why are they duplicate here? Did I mess something up? Seems to be a weird bug. Okay, so what I wanted to show is if you select a few of these and then go to the preview thing, in here you of course can also scroll and zoom everything. So that's kind of nice to peek into things before sorting them away with the tagging approach. Bro, imagine we could bind some script to your content with the template of input for all content. We could, for example, each item we have a tag image, then the script triggers the call API LLM to describe. Actually, you could just do that. I think you could even do that with Heaper. I would use like the tags. Currently attributes, like I said, are work in progress, but I would save these things into these spots. And because the database is quite flexible and I would likely add something for proper indexing of the semantic search things, you could just do that. I will likely add support for OLAMA, so you can have embedding models, image description models, and text models, and access them to modify your data with locally hosted models that are, yeah, like your large language models or vision models. And I think then it works, but since even just a short time ago, those models weren't good enough or didn't run on the consumer hardware that we were using. And now I think they're fast enough. Like even I'm kind of stoked about things like this dictation model that I'm using, because it can just transcribe whatever I say and I can leave the button and it just writes it down. And it's so quick. It's so great. I kind of like this whole thing. I'm not sure why I'm still getting like this bug that the preview unloads when I write text. I'm discovering more and more things I need to fix off stream after. Describe the image. I mean, I should be amazing to bind process with tag. Describe the image. I mean, it should be amazing to bind process. Yeah, like, so I would love to do these things on import automatically. And because as you saw here, there are links you can add before importing things. So if you would do things like image or something, which I could just create, then this thing could trigger some action that you want to run on images that you import. Maybe that's not the right thing to do that, but just as an example, you could do like bookmark and it downloads like the link that's written on the text, for example. It would be cool if you could set passwords or permissions for your individual heaps, so it could be useful for setups if the same heap environment is accessed with your personal. Yeah, I will likely need something like that, because I kind of want to be able to give someone my phone, show them content, and they should not be able, without biometrics or passwords, to change global filters that hide content away. For example, if I don't show work content or something like that, it should be able to filter that all out. Same goes for mobile. You show some friends something and they keep swiping through your things. Why not have a toggle to just hide your stuff and they need to have a pin to get that back? How can a basic function like that, just making sure my cat doesn't destroy anything, how can a basic function like that still not be in Apple Photos? Insanity. The way you have implemented tagging, I think, is very similar to Logseg. Yes, Logseg is also on the same vibe. It's just for notes, but check it out if you're not familiar. Yeah, the thing is, I've been working on Heaper for so long that I saw these tools like start. It's kind of interesting that way, because I did miss a few of these. Some things that you mentioned here are really new to me because I was already kind of deep in Heaper, but I at most points still looked around to other tools, what they were doing right now. And Logseg was really interesting, but they just didn't do the file thing. I think there was one other thing. What was it called? They had like really good typing with tags. They called them super tags. Who was that? It wasn't AnyType, was it? I think it was more like a planner thing where you have like bullet point lists and something like that. We'll see. Friendly water reminder. Thank you. That's like actually really good. Servus, Jan. Just discovered your header video from yesterday, Heaper video from yesterday, and saw that you're online. Great project. Looking forward to test it on my Unraid server and get a real overview of my data. That would be great. And for Unraid, I have this running on my Unraid server as well. It is actually kind of nice to use there. I do really like how the permission management and everything works. It's kind of simple to set up. And with the cache drive implementation, I just have the thumbnails on the cache drive and the data on the data drive. Everything's good. Really nice. I'm trying locally macOS M1 by creating a Docker Compose YAML. Several errors starting the two containers, and the enable internal Postgres true also gets several errors starting the container. Did you start the Docker Compose with the flag to run it in AMD 64 emulation mode? I'm not sure if I need to check out the guides because I might have gotten the wrong Docker Compose in there. I need to look that up. Like the guides for this, I did update them recently, but how do I say that? I didn't write them recently. Like they were kind of older and I thought, okay, maybe I should just push that update. Maybe that's fine enough. I skimmed over them, but I think I need to do that like a lot more properly, because if it's just for me, that's fine. But if a lot of people are actually, oh yeah, you have that on there. So the enable internal Postgres true basically means you just need that one container instead of both. The Postgres then is just not needed, the external one. The Docker image has one built in if you like, but you can use an external one if you also prefer that. I think it might be missing a few end variables. There's a lot of things. If you want, you can either do that on Discord and send the output there, and I can take a look over that then. Well, Firefox removed support, obviously. Yeah, for JPEG XL, right? Oh, God. And I think I have... Where is that? Perfect. Because I just wanted to check if I get... Interesting. I think I'm getting some Discord spam, but whatever. But I'm running this on an M1 MacBook too. Like, I haven't upgraded my MacBook since 2021 or something, and I'm still really happy with it. This is the machine I'm on right now. And I just have the Docker Compose on there too. Several starting, but so I should be something that's a config thing I might need to make clearer. Maybe, I think also that the Docker Compose is a nice setup, but it still feels to me like it's a bit too complex for people because you don't know the structure. I would love things where like the end variables are defined and you don't have any issues with just setting them to the defined things, like, for example, if a folder or true false flag, so nothing can go wrong. Filtering will save my life. I so feel that. I just remembered that I saw that vid from 10 years ago. What? I'm not fully sure which one, but interesting. Firefox support, maybe? I don't know. It feels like I know where I wrote down subject X near XY area and a third down the box. I don't know, might just be me. Wait. I think now I'm out of the loop, but anyways, it's totally fine. We can, however, so a few more things. I can tag pictures on here, and now they also get like a small preview on the sidebar, so you actually know the pictures. Another thing would be if I go into keyboards and look this up, I get, oh no, that's broken here. I only fixed the mobile version. I recently changed how the picture previews are shown, and in here, they're not rendering. That's too sad. I'll write that down too. Pic previews in global search. Perfect. The whole goal is that you can, because I want to go a bit more on that scoping thing. Sorry, my chat got lost, I think. That might be a thing, because like from that one thing, I don't really know what you mean. That interview that started your Heaper journey, I saw that either on YouTube or TV. Oh, yeah, right. So the interview thing, it has been somehow, like, it's a public video. It's on YouTube if you search for my name. And likely if someone is like typing Jan Lunge and just finding that as like the third video, because I don't have that many videos. I have like 18 videos or so on YouTube. It's not, maybe the Heaper was my 20th. I'm not fully sure yet. So you can easily get to these things. Not broken, evolving. Actually, I hope Heaper will evolve even more. And I mean, bugs are part of it. I know. It's something where I just need to accept that things will happen, and I need to take care to get all of these to work, especially as things work on all platforms. There's so much going on with this. Using Rosetta, obligatory thanks. So using Rosetta and AMD64 should actually work. Yeah, if you could send like your things through Discord, that would be great. If you already did, I'm sorry, but I think that would work. Let me just answer in Discord for a second. Perfect. This is right up my street. Hope to install the self-host in Docker on Friday and give you feedback. That would be great. Like, especially the self-hosted servers, because I mean, you likely know there's not that many people that have self-hosted home NAS running and know how to set up Docker on experimental things that no one really understands. Especially for nerd stuff like, oh, I just want to sort all my pictures with tags because folders aren't enough. I couldn't find that many people to try the server version yet. I have it on multiple people's devices already, but it's not tested in like broad daylight. I got so many requests for like LXC containers for, was it TrueNAS? I'm not fully sure. For Proxmox. And also containers for using it in NixOS with how are they called in there? I forgot. Let me see. I just wanted to ask, is Heaper, if Heaper has geographical aspect to it so that files kind of have persistent place. Geographical. You mean on the graph view, maybe? Let me actually read up on if that's all. There, I remember that thing X is this corner halfway down the box. Did I say that? Or the one you said? Oh, and now I see. I still don't fully get it, I think. But do you mean it on like, because I don't think you mean it on like a view like this one here, on like the this thing where you can select stuff, but likely, like I'm not fully sure what the media view is you mean. Is it on like the text view? Is it more on like the picture or something? If I'm like on here, and because I want to do things like tags that are actually referencing image annotations in a specific area. And then you can click them and go to like the PC and have things connected that way. Because navigating through images that way is really, really cool. I had that in a previous version. It was nice, especially if you can do that for videos with sections of the video. I'm not sure if I think like image annotation boxes on videos doesn't make much sense, but at least marking time ranges is really nice, because every time I want to show things from the Svalbard, for example, I likely reference my official video that I did on the on YouTube, but I need to skip through it to find the scenes where I actually show the Svalbard. That thing. No, I mean 10 years ago. Now I am really confused, but it might be that that is visible somewhere because it was 10 years ago. Yeah. Just watched your video and I don't know if it was asked already, but would you consider open sourcing? I see you wanting to do this full time, but let's say you get more than enough from subscriptions. Yes, and kinda. The problem isn't that I wouldn't like to open source it. It's more that I really want the product, the thing that people buy, I want that not to be the subscriptions. At least like they can be the subscriptions, but I don't want to focus on the cloud. The whole reason behind that is that I want the customers to actually be the customers. I don't want to have like a marketing kind of way where most companies do that with their open source tools that you can self-host, which is why most of them are then free. They just do them in a way so that people can use them, but they're basically just a marketing gig to get people onto their cloud platform. And I really don't like that. I want that people buy a software and that software is actually used so I can invest into that part that the people use and listen to their feedback. One of the biggest things always is you want to look for the people that actually want to buy your product, and those feedback is really important because this is like a gap, a real need that they fill. You have a lot of people that try a software and have wishes for it, but think it's not important enough, even if they could spend the money on it to do that. And in open source, we are in a weird kind of place where like open sourcing your app kind of means to other people you don't need to have it paid, which I guess is how we got into this whole thing. But I think the Louis Rossmann video about where he did a really nice talk about that, where we need to incentivize developers more to actually build the products that we like, and that we do that by buying those products. And the first thing on the video was, how about open sourcing it? And why are there limits on like the storage thing? And I'm a bit confused on there because, well, because you should buy the product, and if you buy the product, you don't have a storage cap. Maybe it was confusing on the webpage, but if you can't buy the product, or you don't need to buy the product, then that's not the product, that's just marketing. And yeah, that's kind of my idea with that. I would love to have this in an open source way, but currently the scene around this whole thing is more in a sense where I kind of imagine if I open source it, it either gets like, if there's a paid version for it, there is a clone fork of it that kind of builds a new wrapper thing around it for people that don't want to pay money for it. And no one is caring about my free version or something, because there's this other free version that never has a paid upgrade. It might not be as good, but that's kind of what I'm contributing to. This whole thing will be a really fun discussion, I think, and we should get into that. But for now, I don't even sell things right now. Right now, it's just you can use it for free. I want to get some feedback. I want to know if people use it, how to use it, and change what this is. And I don't really want to get investors into it that want to decide against the wishes that I have. And with Image, for example, they just have really good sponsors. And that's not something easy to do, because developing these things is kind of expensive and complicated and takes time. And just gambling on that someone might sponsor it isn't like the move that I would like to do. I also, of course, companies pay better than normal customers, but I would like to build an app for end users like us, because I want something that I would like to buy because I need it, because I wanted it since like Aperture basically got discontinued, and that's already so long ago. Not that many people. Meanwhile, I'm on Discord with thousands of self-hosted. That's a really good one. Most people, how are power users on a level wanting using such a tool, are most likely people to self-host. Yeah, the power users are actually the best target audience for this whole thing, because they understand why it's important. Because I get other people that are like, well, I have iPhone iCloud sync, right? Why would I need that? Well, I have a full video explaining that, but on the other hand, the iCloud sync is really convenient for like Apple Photos. That thing does work really well, if you don't want to sort your photos, of course. Anyway, have a nice night. I'm off. Home Assistant is nagging me to go to bed for a while now. Have a good night. It was nice to have you here. UI inspiration for tags in videos. SoundCloud comments mid songs. I love that. I love that. The SoundCloud comment thing is something I would also like for audio files, because have you ever tried to mark something in an audio recording? Insanely complicated. I have to sleep. Great project. Have a good night too. Great concept. It was a very interesting evening. Thank you. And I will propagate the message. That would be great. Have a good evening. I'm also a developer. Golang. Oh, Golang is the best. The whole thing is Heaper started in PHP. Like, I did this when I started learning my first coding things, and that language was PHP. So I migrated only like a few years later to Golang, and since then I'm stuck on Golang. Golang is just so nice. It's performant, and I can actually carry over the code because the language doesn't change that much. It's really good in that sense. Makes sense. You want to set up the right incentive structure for yourself. I'm not even just doing that incentive structure for me. I kind of want that other people see that that works. Because you need to see, it's not only about my app. If people buy code that is maybe I can open source it at some point. But first I need to have tools that are maybe not open source, but profitable. And if people see that that works, more people start doing that. That also means I'm having like a tough time because my competition gets tougher. But until then, I'm very happy to be one of the first people that try to give you more freedom with your licenses. And I have so many thoughts on how the licensing actually works that doesn't require you to have like cloud pings and stuff like this. And I'm really happy, and I hope I won't need to make that any more restrictive than it is now. And like, if you used most of the apps that you can find online, there's so many restrictions on software that even if you buy things, it's more complicated than if you would rip it somewhere else. And I don't think that should be the case. It should be the easiest for the normal end user, and we need to reward software that does that for us. Because if you do that for one tool and maybe another, and every time I buy a tool or an app that is not open enough but gives me enough freedom, I kind of feel good about it, because I hope that people see that this company comes further with that and can continue doing these things and gets the incentive, even if they have some shareholders that are kind of just get the money up or something, that they know, okay, this is a target audience of us, we kind of need to go that way. And I hope at some point we stop using cloud only things for everything, because they're really good at price dumping. So, well, something like Futo Rossmann license would suit Heaper in that case. Well, the other part is the license. The license does protect you legally, but not practically. So how do I say that? Nothing is stopping anyone on reading the full source code of an open source project, getting like a large language model to analyze how things are done, creating a plan, building that in a different language, and having fun with it. It's not as easy as that, but you need to remember I worked in coding since 18 years now, and like same time as with the Heaper. And people did that even without large language models. They rebuild apps that already exist because that is simpler. If you have your source code available, it is much easier for people to copy your app down to the tiniest detail, because every tiny step that you did in research and development to make these things actually work, they get now for free on paper. And I'm not saying I'm trying to hide these things for you. I just don't want to have a blueprint out there before people find my app, because at least at the start, that's something where I'm kind of worried about, because if I would now build Heaper again, I wouldn't take 18 years. It would take me like 3 months or so. And that's just because I know exactly what architecture to use, what the drawbacks of each part are, and how to build this in a way where I don't struggle with all, because I built so many implementations that did not work out and needed to switch platforms completely and things like that. And these are all listed in here. So these don't save you from that. Like the license helps with it, but technically people steal your stuff anyways. And I just hope we get to a point where that isn't that big of a problem, because the main problem I have with that is not that people build a clone of this app, if that they build a clone of this app and make that a proprietary product that locks you in. That's like the worst part of it. Because that's kind of what happens all the time. Like the big companies try to figure out the features that people actually like, leaving all the things that are kind of too power user like. Because I like tools that actually focus on power users. And I think kind of they get neglected way too much. It's all about the most simple user right now. Features are removed left and right. And then they restrict it as much as they can. And because the people are like, oh, this is kind of the easiest and it's on my platform that I'm on already, they don't check other tools out. And that's how they basically dry up. This is motivating. I wanted to build something like this, but I've just never had the time to really put enough energy into it. I think that's like I had a nice comment with, I hope I get loved like this guy loves his data, and someone else said, don't mistake love for obsession, or obsession for love. I think somewhat like that. And it's actually kind of true. I only built that because I'm so obsessed with getting this right. And of course, everybody has his backstories basically, but I want to have my stuff organized, and I did that like 3 or 4 times. And I know people don't even do that once. And I needed to switch products to get that going again, and then kept on doing this on my tool, where I can actually carry things over in a data format that even if I can't finish this, someone else can just use directly the same database, your same data, all your files, because it's listed how it works, and build a new tool around that. I do think that the system that this is built on is very flexible, and you could easily get your I don't know, co-working agent to write you a small utility to make this explorable even if the Heaper is gone. Though you might miss out on syncing features. But I'm really big on having these things last forever, because that's kind of the whole thing about it. I want to have this on a NAS, have backups so that stuff can't like just perish because of a lightning strike or something. Maybe it helps if you make a promise to open source it. That, yes, that might actually be a really good thing. And I'm not quite sure why that isn't the default. I might look into how I can actually do that, because why on earth would I want this project to just not exist if I'm gone, or I can't continue working on it? If I could open source it, and like, it's still fine to have like licensing things and stuff going on with that, but it shouldn't just stop. There is a lot of projects where for example, Papyrium, that was like a pen thing that has a digitizer in the front, and you can write on a paper that has these small dots on it. It was one of the earliest companies with that, and or not the earliest, but the first one for Apple products that had like a nice app for it. They went out of business 1 year after they started. Guess how long I tried to reverse engineer a software for that thing, and it didn't work yet. But I wasn't like, I was 16 or something, so of course that didn't work out. I didn't know the Bluetooth protocols that well at that time, and things are also encrypted, and I forgot the passphrase. It's complicated, but it's even worse if that affects hardware devices. But they could have just open sourced the thing and people would be happy, because even the desktop version they had was not compatible with the next feature release of the macOS operating system. So I had like zero options to get that to work at all. Basically, Valve's philosophy with Steam, you gotta offer a better, more customer-friendly service if you want to win. Exactly. So the problem isn't really about like pricing or open sourcing. That's things that are kind of secondary to me. The first thing is it should be good, easy, and working. And I want to convince users by actually providing them something that is nice, and then just not scam them. How about that? That seems like something, right? Because if you can have something that follows certain values and you build your product up into a big ecosystem, for example, and then just not lock the people in and give them the option to leave, but they mostly don't leave. They just come back with new info on how to make the system better because they like it, and most likely it's extendable and all these things. But yeah, I'm drifting off already. They cater to the DAU. Yes, exactly. Is that a German abbreviation? I think it is. Let me think. I think it is German, but the user is kind of acted like imagined as the average user, someone who has, well, it's not average, but like the kind of stupidest version about that, where you kind of think, okay, they might miss every button, they need big headlines, there doesn't need to be any things that could distract them or something like that. That's why apps like TikTok, Instagram, and all these real app platforms actually work, because there's like nothing else to do than swipe. And I still think it's a bit confusing because phones have such a nice interface nowadays, at least hardware wise, that we can utilize to build really cool software. And every time I watch a sci-fi movie, I'm a bit sad that our smartphones look like they do, like software wise. You could make them so good. Yet here we are. Projects and everything really have stages of development, and you shouldn't be expected to have everything immediately laid out while neglecting the conditions you're in. Right. Open source doesn't matter to me as long as it doesn't stop working if you disappear. That's the other thing. You can, like, this is the whole thing is right now, I have the Docker containers that you run. I'm not fully sure if that's the best way to handle that, but I want to be able that there is a package you can get whenever you want, and that is persisted even if all my websites disappear and I get nuked out of existence, because then you can just put that onto your server and have the apps. The only problem is, and this is where it gets a bit tricky, if you want to be actually going this through really well, you notice quite fast that app stores and mobile platforms require a lot more than just like the app being available. Like the company for it needs to be signed up, someone needs to sign the certificates for the app and everything. You can't just leave and then the app still works. Like someone else needs to host that app and they need to pay Apple $100 a year. And if you want to have notification services, you still need notification servers. There's so many things that are very hard to get to this decentral way. For now, I try to just avoid all of these things. So right now there's no notifications because the notifications would need to be local to be working without Apple's server. And if they use Apple servers, they need to run through my server. Insane, right? I can't let you do that. At least not on your server. You can like ping my server to do this, but I will admit I had to check myself on my open source expectations when learning about Heaper, and I have some innate skepticism on software monetization, but I also recognize people need to make rent. Yeah, it sadly is the way it is. And the problem for me isn't like I need to make rent. It's either I earn money with this project and can work on it more and do other fun projects people like, maybe because most of the time, to be fair, the projects I work on are open source. This is the only project I did that is closed source. And it's the only one where I think I could have a case where people are fine with paying for it because they want to support development of that. Like things like the keyboard apps with POG and stuff like this. I thought at the start if I should make that a paid app because there was this PEG app, which also is paid. And there was a path to monetizing this for having keyboard vendors pay a fee or like something to get their keyboards into like a display store kind of page so they can download the configuration files for the POG firmware and everything from a nice looking interface and have like links to other purchasable content and stuff like this. But I thought that is kind of not where I want to go with that, and I'd rather have it work first. So I did the open source thing, and now it's kind of popular. I'm really happy with that one, but I think once I have a bit more time, I can work on that a bit more. But you need something where your income comes from. So I do freelance projects, for example. I worked at other companies before that, either did web apps or real apps for exhibition halls and stuff like this. And now I kind of need to, like at that time I needed to kind of choose, okay, I have some spare time to work on these apps, like my hobby projects, to build a keyboard and stuff like this. But that wasn't that much time. And I basically quit because I want to finish Heaper. That was the reason why I quit my job a few years back, I think 2 or 3. And I started doing freelance projects because with those I can, it's a bit more risky, I need to say. But with those I can work for a while, get like a buffer, and then work on Heaper again for an extended period to actually get things done. And with that approach, it kind of works. So that means if I don't earn anything with it, I have less time to spend on it. Open sus when yeah, that's actually the thing we'll actually talk about here right now. I shouldn't copy paste the relationships with massive tech giants on small companies. Yeah, it's actually kind of like that, and I hope people get to know that if you have your own if you have software and you support that from an indie developer, it's a way different experience than if you would just support, for example, a bigger company that is like doing YouTube or building Pinterest or whatever, or even current example, Discord. There's a lot of things that people don't like, and companies either can't or don't want to do anything against that because either state-wise they get, like for example with the Discord age verifications, it's not fully their choice. They kind of have to do that. That's why the part about these EU rules and everything is on the video as well. There are some things where you really need to take care what the company can do, but you can avoid these things if you build it around that properly. But it's not the focus of them, and that's like kind of the whole main thing. Many open source projects do corporate support for money, which sadly doesn't incentivize them to write good documentation. It also basically, companies aren't really caring that much if the app is efficient or looks nice or things that end users would like. They just want their custom workflows to actually be supported, because the boss of that company just needs it to work. And most of the time, that's when like these things don't get polished enough. I think they stop way too early, and most company tools end up in, no, we did this all the time like this, so it needs to stay like this. And I just can't do that. I want something that, even if things need to be adjusted to, are just better. I dived deep into the Monero community for the last year. For the last few years, this project is purely financed by donations, but I do realize that I can't work for every project, and that can't work for every project. Yeah, the donations part is a nice thing. The problem with donations is kind of, it kind of feels like you build something because you want and then are happy if people contribute. But if I go, okay, I can't do anything like Firefox or Blender or stuff like that as examples, because they are so different as a project and have their own overheads, because there's things that a person alone can actually accomplish quite well today. We have a lot of tools in our disposal that I can now continue to build an app that is as good as you would need. And even 10 years back, I was kind of sure that I needed to hire a few developers with me to code this thing through. But now it just got so easy that even without AI, these things have gotten so easy because the frameworks have gotten so good. I just started working as a student in IT and QA, and I feel like that our software has so much technical debt. Oh yeah. Even going back multiple years, that doesn't get fixed because it doesn't generate dollar. Yes, that was my problem with working for a few companies too, that a lot of things where I said, hey, this could be optimized so well, we could be working so well, our job would be more fun, the customer would get things quicker. And then the answer is just, the customer doesn't need things quicker. We have this timeline, this is what they pay us, we don't get more just because we're a bit faster. Because I like workflow automations and I like to build cool tools that actually let you create stuff, basically. The Discord stuff gets a bit more complicated since there's also money in it for data collection and collaboration with the companies making money providing the identity services. Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms. I just need to say that these identity providers are such a weird concept, but I think, of course, the state doesn't do something. I got a raid. Frank, you here? It's been a while. I just need to like do a small thing on Twitch, because this is the first day I'm actually streaming live on Twitch and on YouTube today. I have a really good stream today actually, because I just launched. Oh yeah, it's on YouTube too, and we have about 460 viewers, I think. No, it's views. No? Current viewers are 40 or something. Insane how many people go by. But I just launched the video for Heaper. My tool is finally released, and this has been like a long-term project of me. It's basically a file organizer that you can self-host and everything. But first of all, how was your stream? Hope everything was fine. But really nice to see you, and thanks for checking by. I just need to check up on one more message from YouTube. I'm gonna buy the unlimited license anyway. I see great potential in Heaper. I do hope you generate enough money and decide to make it open source and accept Monero cryptos as payment donation. That's very specific, but yes, of course. Glad to see the project coming along. Well done. Yeah, I'm so happy right now. Like today is actually one of the greatest days ever. Hi from Portugal, nice job. Thank you so much. It's just like you need to imagine I've worked about 18 years on this thing. Not in like I worked 18 full years on it. I had this project started 18 years ago and I worked on it, then did my bachelor thesis in my art design bachelor's degree thing with Heaper. That's the project I presented there. But it was basically just a UI mock-up. It has a very different structure then, but it was the same concept in the end. And then continued working it on a side project for a few years. Then finally quit my job and finally now published this to be one more step actually. I built it as a web app and went to the PKM summit to talk about that with other people in the PKM community, and they got excited. So I got even more excited about that because it fixes quite a few issues we have with current data sources that we have. And you should be able to just sort your stuff however you like. Here, let me just do one more thing. I just love how this looks as like a Pinterest kind of, what is it, masonry board. It makes exploring your pictures so much more fun. I jumped into the stream right now, just saw the video about Heaper at noon. Great, I came for the keyboard hooked on PKM. Congrats from France. Thank you so much. It's like I said, that there's so much feedback on this whole thing is just great. It's exactly what I wanted from getting this video out, and I'm also amazed how many people are alive right now here with me. Because I thought there isn't that many people that like the project planning or data organization, note-taking, file manager app in a decentralized way and everything. But it seems that I actually found quite the people here that are interested in this whole thing. And this is just, it's very relaxing for me because that was quite a bit of pressure for me to actually finish this. And now with the updated pricing for the self-hosted licenses, this whole thing works much more easily. And I think the part where people were kind of confused if, oh, this is a subscription, isn't it? No, it's a one-time license and you can just buy that to keep it forever and everything. Feature updates, get major versions, and then like you need to buy a new license to get new features like old-time software did, basically. I'm not full on there yet with the, well, technically it is a perpetual license for the features you bought, with upgrades coming depending on if there's larger feature upgrades, but still, this is like the entire thing, and we can build quite a few more things. I hope that, like with the Cyan Voxel video about the habit tracking stuff, I really want to do like this GitHub implementation like view as well. I had built that in the version that I presented in the video 10 years ago for my bachelor's degree as well. I had them in there already. It is kind of fun. I need to dig out the old designs for this because the older graphs I had things that colored in the graph view. I had things to basically sort and like this is the old design of Heaper. Before the apps were always just the lower half of the screen, and now it's this bottom sheet that actually works. And like I showed on the video, I still have all these boxes with pictures and negatives that I need to scan. And how do I say that? They take up this entire wall there. I now put them from these green boxes into all plastic boxes so they don't get any moisture damage or stuff like that. But do you know how much that is? And if you have one of these envelopes, for example, like these things, I would really like to put these into a collection. Also, that's me. In a collection where I sort them by envelope, have the envelope as a tag, can put the image of the envelope on that as well if there's like a date or something that I missed. And with that, I can then actually catalog all these pictures in a much more natural way. And if, for example, my mom will likely come around and we sort these pictures through together with family and everything, and she will likely tell some stories about what's happening there. And now we have the whole thing with dictation. Of course it breaks here. I don't want to wait for that right now. We have all that with dictation where we can just talk and things just appear on screen because we have this instant option to do these. We can catalog and actually add context to all these things so easily now. I'm really excited to see how that works, but because I kind of want to have like a time lapse of myself growing up and stuff like that. Because I have pictures for that, I just don't have them sorted yet. And also I want to see how the actual, what was that thing? How the actual node graph thing with the bubbles and everything, how that looks if I have all these things sorted properly. But today is getting kind of late already. I'm not fully sure if I would go on for much longer. I kind of also need to eat something. But anyways, let me think if there was something that I still wanted to show. Likely, let's just get onto the roadmap thing. We're currently at the stage where the whole app works and we make the file management more complete. Things that are missing there are the server side into folder categorization, some more bulk actions, maybe exports in different formats, getting some preview images to work better and handle PDFs in the editor, for example. And after that, we get into more interesting things with like layouts and what was the other stuff? Templates. Why didn't I put templates down there? Oh, wait, we're wrong section. Templates. Of course, there's templates. Oh, I didn't see people actually voted on these things. I tested that and saw that my voting thing on feature things actually works, but I haven't seen actually people vote on them yet. That's so nice. It's great if your own app surprises you because now we have people using it. Well, anyway, templates are a big thing that I really want to have for journaling and having different kind of pre-filled templates. The attributes are a really nice system when we can build full databases and things like that with annotations and relations between tags. I think the nested tags and search for filters actually, oh wait, yeah, I'll just do that with the attributes then. And the apps will be such a nice thing because then not only I have most of these apps, but I kind of want to make a music player and a video player in there too. I know, oh, 2 people actually voted on that. Nice. Because the, I'm getting bug reports. Oh no. The whole thing there is that I want the actual interface to differ from what you normally use in Heaper. Usually you have like this simple block system where we can kind of navigate through and everything, but these views down here are completely modular and I want to have custom apps in here so I can have to-do lists and other things in the same app just by switching the views around. And with those, there's a lot of possibilities that we can do for browsing. I did a few fun implementations for like a, what was that? A 3JS manga rendering bookshelf. Yeah. So you can like click on a manga, it opens it, it pulls it to the side. You can rotate it in 3D, have the cover, the sides and backside and spine, as well as then open it to read like the EPUB thing you got from there. Kind of nice, really niche use case, but still I thought it's fun enough to implement. I would show that at some point. And then I think collaboration might get in a bit earlier. Implement music and video player with MPV. Can I could likely implement MPV into it, right? But that'd be kind of nice. Though, that's interesting. I would need to look up if that's like a probable thing to do because I kind of like some things on media players. Let me actually show that. Here. Oh, I'm on the heap. I just have the wrong view selected. Let's say we're on a video and I kind of want to have a feature like to be able to zoom in a video because why the fuck not? sorry for swearing, but this is something that always confuses me, that like either these things down here zoom with it or something, or you don't have them out of the way enough. I want them to, if something is playing, it should kind of quickly disappear or not be in the frame at all. Actually, why don't they hide? Is that just because I might need to look into how I actually implemented that currently? But zooming in video things is such a cool thing to showcase some highlights of videos, and I'm not sure why that's not in there. Zooming into videos would be so nice, right? Right? And like there's a few more of these things. There is quite a few more, but yeah, video players have a lot of potential, especially with chapters. Like YouTube has chapters and everything, but I want to have these tag based so you can actually find parts again. I put all my videos that I put on YouTube into these, so in Heaper I can browse them again. You need to add clearer self-hosted pricing and features on the site. Not only have free for now, be transparent. Did you look at the new page? Because now we have the self-hosted one reworked. I was kind of busy. I went on a long walk with my brother and talked through all the... He's also a developer, and so I get someone to have some feedback on this. What a chair. Is that a Neo 2 keyboard or Colmac? That's Colmac. I have Colmac on the Svalbard, and let me, like, I love the chair for it. I basically, actually, this is like the cool thing. Oh no, I didn't implement it here. Usually when I zoom in, it basically overlaps the entire thing so you can actually zoom in seamlessly, but fair enough. I'll do that. Why is it so exciting? Right? How can that be a thing? Also, like with this chair, I can, it's right there. I can then lay down and use my PC in there. I kind of wish these VR and AR goggles are actually getting better. Right now, they're still not good enough for me to use all the time. My brother got one and it's still really fascinating, but I still prefer using an actual screen. So yeah. Yes, only the launch offer. What after that? Oh, well, yeah, okay. So the launch offer is free for now until August. I'm not fully sure if I wrote it in every place. I put it in here, and actually it's not on here. Free self. Oh no, I didn't put it on here. Like on the start page, I have this thing where it says launch phase, free until August. This is just so that everybody can try it out, give feedback. It works on the hardware. I don't want to sell licenses right now. I don't want people to subscribe right now. I want this first to get some feedback to actually work so that, I mean, people can subscribe. It's a bit hard to do because it's currently only possible through iOS. But yeah, I kind of want to get the app working properly before I get all the licensing things figured out. But pricing shouldn't change. So I basically changed this, that the cloud thing, I need to be a bit clearer at the cloud options. So the cloud has either free versions or you can just try it out. The core thing with 10 gigabytes of storage, and you get the self-hosting plan as well while you're subscribed. So you can self-host with unlimited storage or have online services for a bit more. And then there's like 150 gigabytes and one more plan if you need more storage. But I would suggest you to get like a license once it's available after the launch phase, because right now it is free. The 50 gigabytes are the free tier. That's just to test it out, to see if it works on your NAS. There is no time restriction on it. There is no online requirement for it. You can just use that thing for free and everything's good. Just that the unlimited storage will end in August. The 50 gigabyte version of that is basically just a trial phase without locking you into a time frame. And most of this actually works for many people. Don't need more than 50 gigabytes. Who has an Obsidian vault with more than 50 gigabytes of storage? Anyways, the Pro license, on the other hand, then gets you updates for new features for 1 year. So if I release a new major version of the Heaper with like completely revamped collaboration mode or something like that, you still get that if that's within 1 year. If it's after 1 year, you would need to get a new license to get the new features. you would still, in the newest version, get updates to all the other features you have, because I only lock newer features out. I don't lock security updates. You get those forever. You get unlimited storage. You can install it on one server and use it with multiple users. And yeah, otherwise, that's all. I think that cleared up most of the things people have mentioned, just because it was basically just a way to get people to have cheaper licenses if they don't need that much storage. But I guess that confused people a bit, because that feels like I want to limit them and get more out of them. That wasn't kind of the goal here. I kind of wanted to put out cheaper licenses. So now I put away the higher tier and the lower tier one, just leaving the normal one. If you want to have things cheaper, you can subscribe either with a yearly or monthly subscription. And while you're subscribed, you get like all the benefits from self-hosting as well as some online features. And well, after the launch phase is over, you can either decide to get a license or get a subscription. With the license, you just keep that version and it will work forever. When I pay 130, I get a level of features and unlimited storage. Will that stay after the license expired? Yes. You get the unlimited storage. Okay, that's like, maybe that's the problem. The license doesn't expire. That's the whole thing with it. It just says that this license is not eligible for new updates in the future, but it means whatever you purchased, like, you need to think of it, you buy a box of software, you get to keep that. That will still run. What's running on that thing now should continue to work forever. I don't want you to need to upgrade at any time. I want to convince you to upgrade because you either like the tool so much that you would like to support me, or because you like the new features I built and where everything is going. And let me just see. In the future, Steam VR, maybe, hopefully. Yeah, Steam VR is also one thing. But so the whole thing is, I think right now most people are confused with, if they go to the pricing page, they just see the subscriptions. And I really need to make sure that people either scroll down to self-hosting, or that it's clear up here that there's two ways to get this, either through a subscription or through a purchase of a license. And these are really different. But yeah, I'm really hoping that you'll make this open source at some point. I would wish that too, because well, technically it doesn't make anything easier for me, to be honest. Open sourcing it basically just invites people to try to add pull requests and stuff like that, and I need to put in a lot of effort to maintain these and get them to be properly. If you've worked with larger teams and have people just submit random code because things they liked should be in there, you know how much that can mess with the actual plan of the implementation, because the other people don't know that yet. Other than longevity, the main thing is basically, I will look up things if there's like, if this project would be discontinued, it instead is getting open sourced. I'm looking up if things like that exist, because that's kind of the whole thing. People want that as a security. I think they want to have it as a security for if price increases are there, but also they don't lose the software. Like they get to keep that software and can continue to run it. It will not be updated. That is a weird thing. But the problem is, if Heaper leadership would change, basically, if I wouldn't drive this project, it's basically a different project. So yeah, that's kind of the thing then. So it doesn't even matter if I would sell Heaper, which is not my intention, by the way. Because I fear that if I would sell Heaper to whatever company, they would make it worse, and I wouldn't be happy with Heaper anymore, and I would need to build it again. Like, well, yeah, so like, just, I have the same fears as you. Please, please, please feel free to release a major update that's called cleaned up tech debt. Oh yeah, true, especially with the whole AI PRs. Oh, the AI PRs. I also get pull requests on POG that are likely entirely AI written, and it's sometimes tough to differentiate them. but they just touch more files than they should. Yeah, well, like reviewing code, that's a whole rabbit hole. But the problem is these AI pull requests are sometimes nicer than what people build. So I'm not complaining. And there's now tools to review pull requests with AI, at least something. So I get to find issues way earlier. But yeah, I started getting rid of every single proprietary software a few years ago. I would love to, but for me, my main issue is I'm also using macOS right now. So with macOS, I haven't updated to the new system because it doesn't bring me anything I need. I don't like any of the new features. I don't like Apple Glass. I don't like the more rounded windows. Nothing really is there why I should upgrade. So I didn't. And you get to choose the same thing here. If I could fork macOS and go up from here into a different path, of course that would be perfect, but that's not how things work. And yeah, well, because I would always, that's like my main thing, I want to be able to switch to open source tools. I don't want to use open source tools exclusively. I just want to be able to get my work done. And that's why I like tools like DaVinci Resolve compared to basically Adobe products and some other things, because DaVinci Resolve is also a one-time purchase and I can use that thing forever. They're a bit cool because they keep like, you buy it once and keep it forever and get updates for everything, but they also sell cameras, so I think they have that going for them. And that's why I hope there's a way towards FOSS. Yeah, I hope so too. Just as a dev, it is making me slightly anxious to see if to see my app open source and then like, oh well, let's see how this goes. Let me just run it for a while in a smooth like approach. We'll see how things go. And open source is in my heart. You know, I do open source projects all the time, and if I find a way to do that, that might be a thing. But oh, the weirdest part was I saw a company that wanted to use Heaper in production and use that for like managing documents and notes for their system because it's self-hosted. Kind of nice. They have a requirement to not allow open source tools. And I'm like, wait a second. I couldn't have you as a customer if I would open source it. And the funny thing is, people tell me, if you open source it, you may get company sponsors. Sure, but the companies I asked to that could be interested in this one basically said, if it's open source, we can't. Because things are like security guidelines. If you have an open source project, other people, maintainers of the project, can allow pull requests that might not be vetted properly. And with how the, what was it? Like who is responsible for the failures then is not easily solved. And that's why they just can't do that. Yeah. So I'm kind of in a, users want this, companies want the exact opposite. So I'll keep it in between for now, and we'll figure out if things are possible, because if users are actually the thing that pays for the app, I don't need to care about the companies, right? Kind of need to refamiliarize people with the old ways of software licenses, guess. Yes, I also noticed that. I felt that a lot of people wanted the software for like $30, one-time license, and updates forever. And I think with the current state of software stuff, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to live off of that, because I don't think there's enough people. Well, maybe, but I would need thousands of people purchasing that. And I don't expect thousands of people purchasing it. So yeah. Does Heaper organize documents by nested tags? Yes. Does it allow to make collections? Kind of, yes, heaps. As directories, directory opus? What does opus mean? Directory opus? But yeah, technically, you can do everything with nested tags. So let me just tag this one with Svalbard. Now I go onto Svalbard. Now I do add a link, keyboards, oh, and then we're on keyboards. Now I have keyboard, Svalbard, video. I know the thumbnail's broken. I'm working on that. So yeah, that's kind of how you do that. If you want to have boxes, that is the heaps, those are like buckets. You can completely separate them from another and sort your stuff in there. It's kind of like vaults or workspaces. How did Red Hat manage to get government agency level of users? Well, that's the other thing. If government level things were in play here, I would think the progress would just halt. Because one thing in Heaper is it needs to live a bit more freely to be able to be the thing that it is. It does need to break with a few things like how files are supposed to be working, and that like I enforce deduplication on a per heap basis, or there's a lot of like opinionated decisions I need to make this tool unique. And these are what basically dictate what kind of solutions I can go for. And these follow like the base principles I follow for the app. And these base principles, I just think companies have way different ones. The open source not allowed is the more of a contract issue to have someone to be responsible. I think, yeah. The other issue is though, Germany now has Haftung für Softwareprodukte, which is basically you're responsible for damages that occur from software you publish. This is kind of a big deal for indie programmers, because now if I have a company that has like lost data on my tool because of a bug I have, maybe I can't just can't prove that it wasn't my fault or something, I'm liable for the damages. Yeah, so I'll need to find a good insurance for these things, but it's basically, I wouldn't want to do a lot of things that include being the responsible person for something for big companies. Especially if I have something with open source involved and someone merges an AI pull request that has a really good hidden exploit in there and breaks all the company computers. Ooh, no. Yeah, what the hell? Have you considered moving out? I have, actually. I have considered moving somewhere else. But for now, that's not an option. Well, it's not an option, but I have the priority of working and not taking care to, I don't know, have the best rules for actually producing content or software, basically, or being more insured for the things. like with the taxes and everything, there's a lot of things I need to be aware of, and it's just how it is. Because if I do things internationally, I also need to check the rules there anyways. We'll see. Though Germany is kind of a tough nut with all these things. But yeah, I would really like that we do like a kind of nice example thing for this in the future. So, oh yeah, I didn't show that yet. Down here are the pin tags that are in your sidebar, so you can always drag them in. Now that I see this, I could also drag them to the sidebar. Well, I built this so on the phone you also get access to the sidebar tags without needing to move anywhere else. You can do selections, you can go into the quick preview thing where you then can go through the images. But most of all, at the top here, you see all the tags that are on these images. So you don't need to open the sidebar or anything. I see robots are on 5 of 15, and the desk setup is on 10 of 15. If I drop them on there, I remove the tag. So now it's only this thing, and I can drag them on robots to apply it again. And sorting like this is just so much fun. I think it's fair to be closed source till abandonment. A strong point you made and maybe need to repeat on a website is that the files Heaper uses are an open standard, no lock-in. no hard one anyway. Exactly. The thing is, I try to be like small about this. So I have this no lock-in right here. No tracking. Oh, that's the other thing. I don't do any tracking on your things. Most apps have some kind of tracking thing in there. I don't. And I don't really need to, because I want you to tell me what you actually want. And also, I don't think that tracking would help that much as well. Also, there's no ads, there's no external services that try to be in your spaces. It's just like file manager for your stuff to explore in a way that's a bit more modern. And the login thing, I mean, yeah, I would need to show people basically that Heaper is, let's go to this file, for example. If I go to the sidebar and open in Finder, we basically get this. And if I go, let me see, one folder up, you see all these folders in here. That's like all the checksums of each file, and you get the image and its thumbnails. So I just have them on the client side. They're stacked like this. So you can easily go in here, see, oh, this is the file. This is all that's attached to it. And another goal I would have was, if you write down a note, I would really like to copy a mirror copy as a markdown file here, so you can use other editors to browse through this stuff. Though I have one problem with that. If I do that, editing it gets kind of complicated, because Heaper would need to be running every time you edit it. And I don't think that will happen. So there's a lot of, oops, this might be broken cases. What happens to tags if we move tagged files with, will tags be updated automatically? Move tagged files. It depends on what you mean with moved, because the files right here are never moved. That's like on the client side, they always stay in this spot. That means regardless of what you do with the tags, they're every time they're inside this one folder with their checksum as the folder name, and in another folder, which is your workspace. This is the idea of the heap here. So this way you can clear things off this workspace easily without using Heaper, for example, just to clear cache, because this is all cached data. They should be backed up to your cloud service, which is your NAS or the website. If you change tags on here, they don't move. If you mean inside this interface, they basically just get a new tag. If I do like laser, then I have that tag on here, and this tag exists now as a folder, and I can browse it from here. I can have it on another thing if I go do something like spaceship. Then it's in this one too. And if I now go to the heap and scroll all the way up and zoom in a bit, you can now see I have two folders that both include the same image in it. Because they are not folders, they actually also let me go to grid. That's a bit nicer with these, a lot of like text content things. So it's not duplicated, it's just in two places at once. That's like the cool part. With the server, however, that's where your files actually get laid into different places. And how do I say that? There we are working on or I am working on a feature to move these automatically into the position that you would need. So they get moved into the primary tag, for example. That acts like a folder then. So like this later thing would be a folder. Can I not? Oh, I can't drag. Everything's fine. Sometimes with the streaming, it's a bit of overhead for the PC. And if this would be a folder on the NAS, then I would move the image into that if it is in no other folder before that. If it already is in some folder, it would just stay there, except you say no, move to this tag or something. Like if I say, okay, move this file into spaceship or something, that would be something I would add into these tools. And that would work in multi-select cases too. So if I go to the robots, oh, I added a lot of things in here that I don't need. Let's just move them. Now we have the robots back. If I now go on to like select all of these and wait, what did I want to do actually? Yeah, if I now go on to these and say I want to move those to the robot folder, that would just work. But I would need to invoke it like I do. Oh, that's what I wanted. Like I say these and select that. So I can do that for multiple files too. But like I said, still some time until I actually will implement that. Okay, but I need to say, I think we're done for today. I think we're done for today. It was actually really nice to see that this whole thing worked. I actually need like a way to nuke the chat. Let me just do that for the outro real quick. And bing, perfect. So, this was amazing. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for actually leaving so much feedback about Heaper, to being interested, especially all the open source licensing and everything in that direction, because these things are really complicated. It's not that I could just one-shot that into like one perfect solution. And so I'm really happy that we actually talk about this, because nothing is set in stone yet. That's why I have until August to figure everything out, to actually make you all happy, make me happy, hopefully continue to work on this project and make something great. And I really hope something on Heaper helps you build stuff that you need or helps you organize. I would love to see some people try these. And if you find bugs, please tell me, join the Discord, and I will try to fix whatever I can as fast as possible. But right now I likely need to get onto documentation. So I'll do some more streams. I'm not sure if I do all of them on YouTube, maybe, because it's kind of simple actually. And do some documentations and more casual streams. Not everything needs to be this full-on QA mode. We can also do some lighter streams. But if you enjoy this format, feel free to come back. We have a stream announcement on Discord. YouTube otherwise has the scheduled streams, so you might get notifications if you turn on the bell if you like. And yeah, if you have any interesting feedback that you like to give to Heaper, feel free to leave that in Discord, because I will actually implement a lot of features that you request. One of the things in that regard are basically, where is it? This is desk setup. I think it is tags, keyboard, this one, I think, is that you can link to a paragraph on another node. And someone said they really need that. So I implemented this and now we have that. So if you are looking for something and you say, okay, all the other tools don't do that, hit me up. Good night, and thank you all for working on Heaper. I'm really looking forward for where the future lies with it. Thank you so much, and consider XMR chat for super chats, please. XMR? What is XMR chat for super chats? I need to look that up. I'll do that later. My internet cut out for a bit. Thanks for the stream. Thank you, everybody, and see you soon. So until then, have a good one. Bye.